Hello and happy new year. This is Weekly Manga Recap. I am Nick, joined by Quinn for a look back at 2025.
Yeah, this is the New Year's ending. Literally, as we're recording this, the last day of 2025. So, unless any manga managed to sneak in the next 3 or 4 hours, it's no longer in consideration. Won't have time to think about this. This is where we put everything from 2025 to rest. Definitively.
Knowing our luck, it will be a chapter of Boruto that does that. So,
or a chapter of New Exorcist that's just really wild. It's
just a really weird one that didn't come out in the Sunday issue of Jump. For some reason.
Because they were legally, there's stuff in it we didn't want it necessarily associated with the magazine, but there is plot critical stuff going along with the horniness and the baby pissing or something. Guys. Yeah, I don't. They had to float down a river of baby piss, but it was to get to Goku Doki Doki or whatever. So
Goku Doki Doki, whatever its name was.
Yeah.
This was a weird year. I feel like in general.
Oh yeah.
But there was manga that happened during it, and some of it was good.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
There was that.
I think we usually start this by kind of looking back through the series that we took as recommendations for the year. And we didn't get through a ton this year, but I do think that there are some very interesting ones that we got through.
Yeah. Unfortunately, as a result of a couple of different things that happened, we did not have as much time to go through recommendations this year. We still got through 12.
Yes.
So averaging one a month. And so we kicked that off by kind of going back to the well. We did Pokemon Adventures, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, which I will be fully honest, I don't remember a ton about.
Yeah, I really looking at it. I was expecting. I was really locked in this year. I think I can get through this pretty well. And then I looked at it and I was like, I don't remember a single thing from Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire.
This was the year I started taking notes on the recommendations that we did, but I didn't actually start taking notes until we did Gamblefish next. I think that was because we basically opened the year with Pokemon, so I hadn't started actually taking notes in the year until we did that. I know that they went to space.
Yes.
For the finale. I couldn't forget that.
I do remember that, if only because I remember being annoyed that it was just a cream dioxazine, and then everyone corrected me and they're like, Quinn, that's what happens in the games. I was I'm sorry, I guess I forgot.
Pokemon has gotten increasingly wild with each new game that has come out since around Gen 5, basically. So
Yep. It's wild. Gen 6 starts with a war crime that killed thousands, and then 10 years, 15 years later, they brought that guy back and they redeemed him.
Jesus Christ. Then we did Gamblefish,
yes.
which is kind of properly exploring something from the ancient lore of Weekly Manga Recap.
Yes.
Because that was something that you talked about early on when we were first doing the show. When we kind of each were more focused a little bit on bringing forward some stuff that we were individually reading, in addition to the stuff that we both read.
Which really says a lot about me that I read this. It was more, please. I'll consume more of this.
I'm looking through my notes now, and obviously, I don't think the Gamblefish needs a whole lot of particular bits to be brought up. We had a very good discussion about that series, I will say. But I just had to be reminded of my notes here. King Omaha, Barack Obama, but also Jesus.
I remember a lot of very absurd stuff. I remember him fighting two Brazilian women who were ghouls of some kind, energy draining vampires or something like that.
they were actually children, I think.
Oh, that's
was
right.
The thing.
They were children who were like made a wish to
wish.
some god who like aged them up, but after they lost their match, it like stole all the energy from them and they became like withered old women who I think died immediately afterwards, or who knows.
A very strange series
Yes.
that was immensely horny. And I think that about covers it.
Yes.
But I really liked being able to at least properly dive into it and talk about it with you.
It was fun to get to revisit it all these years later, and it was fun to be able to actually engage with it and be like, hey, now we've both read the absurd games that go on here and watched it go from something that was, I think, legitimately interesting at one point to just pure insanity by the end.
Yeah. Somewhere around the giant roulette table that unleashed a marble that could crush somebody, it went a little bit crazy, yes.
Went off the wall there.
Beat in Motion was the next one we covered, the Shonen Jump Plus series that ended early on in 2025. This still has not, I don't think, had the Netflix OVA come out for it. I think they're still producing that.
Okay.
But this was the series that came about as a result of a competitive reality show that was judged by several Shonen Jump authors. And I ended up being kind of an apologist for it, but I think that you had much less patience for the series in general.
I'm remembering it slowly. I don't remember many of the details because I'm only now just starting to take notes essentially for, recap series next year. So I could just remember the specifics a little bit more. But I do remember both of the lead characters being deeply annoying, and there being one particular face that the series just kind of makes over and over again that is very obnoxious.
I actually kept a tally of the number of times that came up in my notes, which was 61. So
nice.
quite a few.
Yeah.
I think as well, most damningly, because of course the main characters in that series end up as a romantic couple. You said that you hated them even more when they got together.
Yeah, I didn't. I was like, there was at least something kind of interesting when they were pining, but after they got together, it's like, nah, these two are so much worse.
Yes. Then we had a big one, which was Mission Yozakura Family.
Mm-hmm.
Covered that whole series. That also had ended right as the 2025 began. And we, I think, kind of basically walked away from that still kind of feeling the same way as we did before, which is okay.
Yes. I still think that I am glad I read it, and because I enjoyed parts of what I read, and I think it was a better series this time around than the way, we were recapping it 1 week at a time and just like getting very tired of the joke early on when it's, when you're able to read 20 chapters and you suddenly get all that just knocked out in like half an hour or whatever. It's a lot more tolerable.
Yeah, and I still think about some of the good moments from that series that I enjoy. Like there was that one joke that I think that I gave mention to when we covered it, which was during the wedding as they're trying to sneak in. There's the information broker is the father of the bride. And he keeps on threatening to publish all these embarrassing secrets that all of them have, and so it's like going through each of the siblings one by one as they are shot down because it's like they've got some horrible embarrassing secret they don't want let out. And so it finally gets down to Nanao, and he's like, well, I don't know what's gonna happen here, but I better try. Like he knows what's gonna happen, and then it's, I think, the least problematic out of all of them.
That sounds about right for Nanao. This was a fun series to kind of look into and to read the whole thing. Obviously, neither of us, I think, were huge fans, but our audience really liked it, and like the audience in Japan liked it. I mean, this ran for it was like the third or fourth most senior series in the magazine, by the time it had ended. So that obviously speaks a lot to the quality of the series.
Yeah, there's a lot of series that are popular now that are not going to last as long as that series did, I think.
After that, we read The Lives of Eccentrics, which is a collection of short stories drawn by Araki, and it's...
I'm glad we read it, but it was weird.
It's weird because I'm like, I feel like if I just read a part of JoJo every so often, he'll just include, like, especially some of the later JoJo parts, we'll just include, like, I don't know, here's, like, 10 pages devoted to some historical figure. Like, those could have just been the interstitials to then, like, you know, it cuts back and some dude's like, and now me and 20th century boy will kill you. I shouldn't have used an actual band that has a stand already, but it's still. Me and,
there was some tiny stories in it, but that was about it, yeah.
Yeah. Not great, but honestly, I was about to say, like, not horrible, but I don't remember all the stories, and there might have been one that was really rough in there. I cannot remember.
There is one where it's about the ape that they acted was like the missing link. And there was a whole sequence where they were like specifically trying to get him to fuck a woman. So that was weird.
Yeah, that wasn't great.
Then we had Sasaki and Miyano, the boy love series that happened.
I am trying to remember this one and details from it. I remember not hate. I feel like, I don't know, maybe this is just I've gotten a little bit older and I've gotten a little bit like more open-minded in the sorts of series I like to read. I was able to enjoy Sasaki and Miyano more than I feel like I've enjoyed some other like boys love series we've read, of these just like very casual yearning sort of school series. And I enjoyed the one character who looks like Joker from Persona 5 the most, who just is like, he's in a deeply happy relationship. He never feels the need to really like lay it all out there. He's like super cool, engaging with all these, you know, boys love antics, and then every so often he's just like, hey, can I get a picture from my girlfriend? She loves this stuff. I'm very secure in my masculinity about that.
I think that was a part that I did really appreciate, was that she is like a big fujoshi, and he's just kind of like, yeah, that's fine. It helps her to find me attractive, so I'm cool with it.
Yeah, he's like, I'm one of her favorite tropes apparently, so this works great for me.
We did Rugby Rumble, which was, of course, about rugby, and I think that I was in general just kind of like disappointed by it. There were some parts of it that I did like, but I really didn't really care for its attempts at dramatic beats at times.
Yes, it lacked the highs that I would want a sports series to have. Now, granted, it was still pretty young when we read it. It's still ongoing, I believe, so it may be better. Like, some of the issues, like some of the side characters may have gotten more exploration. Maybe they are focusing more on sort of like how the line is doing when our lead character isn't directly in it or whatever. But still, in general, it's not my favorite sports manga, but I still enjoy sports manga pretty like highly. So I'm glad it was in this group of series for this year.
Yeah. It turned to after we covered it, to give you an idea of how young it was. So
yeah. Then we read I Want to Be Your Girl. This was one we got from a publisher, sent us copies of it so we could read the first volume that's been released in English-speaking countries. I think at least the second volume's come out since then. Story of a trans girl in Japan and her best friend, who is also now trying to navigate her own very complicated feelings of romantic interest to her friend. And I appreciated its representation and some of the topics it goes to explore. There's an extremely wise teacher in it who always just kind of comes in and lays down all the information these kids need to navigate their life, which is greatly appreciated. And I just remember being like a cozy, nice, pretty, I don't want to say it's got no teeth to it, but it's a nice, comfy queer story, I think, to read, which is nice.
It's an interesting story in that it delves into hey, the person that you were in love with since you were childhood friends, and all of the dramatic beats that are established with that. Well, now they're identifying as a girl, and what does that mean for your relationship to them and also your feelings to them? And it turns out, the main character, Hime, just really doesn't know what to do about it, but she's trying her best, and that's nice.
Yes, she is trying to protect her friend in the meantime, sometimes in clumsier ways than others, but that is sort of the mistakes that you make when you're a teenager. So yeah, was very, very, very happy to read that series.
Then we did
Then we
Neon
talked about some
Genesis.
small series called Neon.
Yeah, some series. I don't know.
Neon.
I think it's based on an anime.
Genesis Evangelion, something like that.
Yeah, so Neon Genesis Evangelion. We covered that. Both of us having not watched the anime beforehand, so this was our first like full exposure to it. And from what I was able to find out, it seems that there were some weird differences to it partially because of like the time over which the series was written. Like multiple like OVAs and reboots and stuff came out while the manga was being written, so there was kind of some reinterpretations happening. But I think that at least we got like an idea of like, oh, this is why the series like caught on. There's some very striking visuals in it, and there are really cool parts of it early on, and there are some very weird things that happen in it later on that are also interesting.
Yes.
And I don't know exactly how I feel about the franchise as a whole after experiencing it, but at least I've experienced more than zero of it now.
Yeah, I was extremely grateful to experience this series. It had been existing in that weird sort of blind spot I had as somebody who was like a fan of anime and manga. Like it was one of those things like that came up throughout multiple times in my life. People would start talking about it and I'd be like, oh, I haven't seen it. And be like, don't you read manga for a living? How have you never, experienced this? So it was nice to be able to kind of cross that off the list. And while the series was immensely frustrating at times, I do think there are legitimately like weird aspects to the story that are deeply confusing for the sake of being confusing, and like all this sort of weird expansive lore that I'm only now just starting to like catch the sort of shrapnel of. I did just kind of deeply enjoy getting to see how solid of an experience reading the manga was as a way to get into Evangelion. There's oftentimes if a series is very popular in one medium, like, the next might not be the best way to get into it. Who knows if the comic book, novelization of Star Wars are the best ways to get into that franchise or whatever. But the manga was really, really good. Like, there were some really, really great high-quality moments to it. The art in it is phenomenal because it's essentially the art of the anime. And those aspects were great. And the parts that were more confusing and weird just do give us a window into this culture, this fandom that's just sort of accepted its own sort of lot in life. They're like, look, we know who's creating us. This is just kind of what the series is going to be. And it was nice to be able to like share that understanding now.
Yes. And speaking of weird, the next one we covered was Absolute Boyfriend, which was the shoujo series in which a girl got basically a robot boyfriend. And man,
there were some problematic elements in that series.
To say the least.
But it was a fun kind of 2000s series that I appreciate.
I don't know about that.
As I said, I enjoyed seeing the art of it and things like that, like the weird tribal tattoos characters would have at like cover pages.
That's true.
And like, the low-rise jeans and stuff like that would be showing up. Like there was just an aesthetic that I appreciated. The series wasn't very good, but I did appreciate going back to like 2000s and experiencing something that I had never experienced before in manga.
Yeah. Well, you'd also never experienced Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest before, though. That's the series that we covered for September this year.
Haven't I, Nick? Haven't we all experienced it already?
It was a brand new feeling, a brand new sensation, never before felt, witnessed, ever.
Yes.
It was all brand new. No previously explored flavors of manga within this baby.
Yeah, no, nothing. This is a fresh new take on our favorite fairy tale characters. Didn't go back to the well, certainly, with anyone. Really tried to reinvigorate a kind of tired group. and really just new adventures too. Some people would say like, well, they did everything in Fairy Tail. What could they do here? They've never been underwater. I mean, I think they were at one point, but they didn't fight a dragon while they were underwater.
While underwater, right.
Yeah.
While underwater.
Yeah.
They fought dragons before, but not while underwater.
That's a completely different thing. So yeah, just so many fresh takes. Lucy's boobs being used as a punchline, hilarious. Wendy's boobs being used as a punchline, new ground. Natsu just running up and punching things really hard is the solution to every problem. That was like a new innovative take. It really... What wasn't new about 100 Years Quest?
I guess the first part of the title. That seemed kind of familiar. That was about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that sucked. Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest was bad, but it is bad in a way that we've already consumed some, 800 chapters of that man's previous work before. So, I can't be upset.
Fully immune to it.
Yeah, I can't really be upset anymore after you see, Fast and the Furious 9, if you're complaining about them going to space, I'm like, it's kind of on you.
Yeah, what are you going to do now? And then the last series that we covered was just a series that I read, which was Bad Girl Exorcist Reina. This is, you were getting busy with school around this time, and I
had also had my surgery, which I remember thinking that I was like, I'm gonna get so much done during my recovery for that surgery, and I spent almost all of it asleep and on painkillers. I think the only thing I accomplished was I beat the original Hades.
I think you got in trouble for that.
Did I?
The way you told it to me.
Yeah,
but so I just kind of explained to you what Bad Girl Exorcist Reina was like, which was, it was fine, basically. There were some, funny bits here and there. There were some bits of it that I really did not appreciate the sense of humor, but it was fine. Yeah. That was just kind of my overall take from it.
The audience, by the way, did seem to have a more positive perception of the story. I believe it makes their top choices, so, giving a different
but they also picked Mission Yozakura Family as their favorite series, so what can you say?
In fairness, though, because we only got to, a dozen series this year, the best and worst is going to be a bit more weighted on that scale. I do not know if the series I'm picking as the best are truly series you should go out and read because they're that good, and more of these guys were the high fours of a group of scaled series from 1 to 5.
I truly don't know if I have a top 3.
I have 3 I can put as a top 3. So I guess I'll just go through mine real quick here. My number 3 is going to be Rugby Rumble, and it kind of makes the list mostly because it is a sports series, and I enjoy those very much just by their nature. Even if it's a sport I don't care about, like rugby, it is still enjoyable to read about sports matches and whatnot. But that said, this is not my favorite sports series or anything like that. It just happened to be the one that we read this year that's, was allowed to survive 19 chapters or whatever.
Right. Oh, God. I think that my number 3 is going to be... I think it's going to be Mission Yozakura Family.
Okay.
And that's the thing is, I had quite a few different, negative thoughts to have about it. But in terms of the sheer, measuring it by the quantity of good and enjoyment I got out of the series that we read this year, I think that makes the top 3. Yeah. Just by sheer quantity.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid way to look at it as well. It is a long-running Shonen Jump series, especially in our contemporary age. And it's mostly fine. Sometimes even good. And that's, a rarity. We don't get a ton of those series.
Mm-hmm.
My number 2 is going to be I Want to Be Your Girl. I think that it was a fun series to pick up the first volume of. It was also just nice to get, one from a publisher. There's a I don't know, a slight bit of like, oh, we're like a legitimate thing, right? Like someone sent us a manga volume. But it was also a way to, bring attention to a queer story that, again, like I hadn't heard about before I had the email hit my inbox. So it was nice to get a chance to kind of look at that sort of series.
Absolutely. I think that I know what's happened for both of us here, but I'll go with my number two, which is I put Neon Genesis Evangelion. It was, I don't know if it was the most entertaining series for me, but I feel probably out of everything that we read this year, the most fulfilled by having read it. As in, like, if we're talking about series like, oh, this had a positive impact on you, that definitely has got to be up there for me. It's like the fact that I have read this, and like actually gotten a full sample of the cultural touchstone that this is, and that it did not like devastatingly disappoint me or anything like that.
That was a real possibility too. What if it was like, oh, we finally
this is what you guys like? What the fuck?
We finally read this series after 20 years and it blows. I'll just continue that. My number one is Neon Genesis Evangelion. I still don't think it is, a perfect series. I don't even know if this is something that I'm like, you have to go out and read this. Like, if I ran into some Gen Z, like, anime fan, I'd be like, look, you didn't have to grow up hearing this series' name kind of thrown about all the time. You'll just be like, I don't know, every so often I see some blue-haired anime girl, and they'll be like, oh, he's talking about Ray, That's kind of the touchstone this series might have. But I do think if you're like someone in our age demographic and you haven't read or experienced anything of Neon Genesis Evangelion, I do think there is a value in seeing it. Not that you have to like go out and immediately do it, but I found a lot of enjoyment out of now knowing what this series is about, knowing what some people have been like making jokes about it with in the past and things like that. And also, just as an ex-Catholic, I enjoy that good stuff. I mean, the spear of Longinus is the ultimate weapon of death, and it's very funny.
You talking about, oh, Gen Z guys, you don't have to worry about this kind of thing. It actually makes me think about this realization I had not too long ago, which is that as we get older and are still, following these fandoms, now we're seeing, kids who grew up with certain series that we were already adults when they debuted, now reaching the age where they're like how old we were when we started doing this podcast, and have all the takes about how the series that they grew up loving actually sucks now. It's, seeing that happen with stuff like My Hero Academia has been so weird to me.
Yeah, there's some people who are going to be like, this series blows. You're like, you have no idea. We sat through so many war arcs. I mean, you had to sit through one, but
yeah,
it was better in comparison to some of the other war arcs.
I mean more in terms of when you go from the age of this is the thing that I like and it's the thing that defines my life, to then you've gotten to the age where you've taken your first media criticism class, and so you think that the secret to why it's bad and stuff. And it makes me think of that first video I did years and years and years ago about Naruto, the tone with which I spoke about it, and the arrogance basically that I had about it.
Yeah.
And seeing that being thrown at the
Demon
message
Slayer.
of My Hero Academia is so inconsistent and stuff. And it's like, no, it's not. You just weren't paying attention when you were younger reading it.
You just saw cool powers and stuff like that. You didn't realize the series had themes and topics to discuss.
Right.
Yeah.
Time makes fools of us all, basically.
Exactly. Not me though.
My
takes have only gotten better with time.
Oh, absolutely. There's not a single thing that I regret saying about Bleach now.
If anything,
now that I know more about how manga is actually made and the struggles that he went through publishing that, I don't regret a single thing about it.
Yeah, everything I said has only been more right and proven more right with time.
Absolutely. My favorite series this year that we covered was I Want to Be Your Girl.
Yeah.
I think that in terms of having purely positive things to say about something, I think that that's just kind of what I hold typically as my favorite thing. There's no aspect of that I didn't think worked. I thought it was funny when it wanted to be. I thought that it was very heartwarming. It was kind of easy, but there was enough depth to it to make it an interesting read as well. To see stuff like, little touches like, how she would stand up for her friend in cases where it wasn't really required because she felt that pressure of like, oh, she's trans and I've got to make sure nobody's harassing her. And it's like, nobody was harassing her. It's okay. The unique position that kind of puts you in. So stuff like that made it really stand out, and I do look forward to more volumes of it coming out and checking out more as it comes out.
Absolutely. Now, I think the side of this we both have more options for is our worst list. Yeah. I think my number 3 is going to be Absolute Boyfriend, but I almost want to give it a little asterisk because, again, I kind of like parts of it just because it occupies the space of the 2000s. I know what one side of the 2000s manga scene looked like, but when it came to the Shoujo beat stuff, I didn't read any of that necessarily. So it's always fun to be like, oh, things weren't so great over there either, huh? It wasn't just skip beat over there. So I enjoyed Absolute Boyfriend, and I appreciate the lens it allowed me to view sort of 2000s era manga from.
My number 3 is Gamblefish.
Yeah.
I liked that we read it, and I'm glad that now we share something now. Quick,
yes.
We're
bonded.
Right now we've covered that. The King Omaha, we both know the full context of that now and stuff like that. The sheer number of quote unquote fan service scenes, the bit with the mushroom dude being some sort of master poker pervert thing was so weird and creepy. Mm-hmm. when he's drawing the cards off of the girl's naked body and he's more concerned about being able to see her naked than ensuring that his friend's enemy is defeated. That's so fucked up. So many levels.
We cannot stress enough how much the weird mushroom friend went from being an annoying but okay sidekick to being legitimately the most uncomfortable predator in the room. It really does set the tone for that whole series and makes it deeply uncomfortable at points.
The way that there would be women that were set up as cool and competent and having unique abilities that could be helpful, to then, they're just here so that they can be used as a piece of leverage, basically.
They are a betting piece, they are a damsel in distress, they are, whatever.
They're being forced to take their clothes off while bouncing on massive spheres levitating above spikes.
I forgot about that.
So fucking weird.
As you started saying it, I was like, is he going to say trampolines? Was this the man show? And I'm like, it's honestly not far off from it. This really was
honestly, it would have been less problematic if they were in that position because... and then of course the cum fish. The fish that as they bite you, you feel pleasure. And of course it's the one match in the entire fucking series that's between multiple women.
It's great. What a treasured series. Again, I kept reading it when I was younger. And I say younger as though I'm 12. Now I was 24. And I was still maybe the next chapter they'll go back to the card stuff. I totally get that. My number 2 is going to be Beat in Motion. This series wasn't good. I hated these characters. I hated the message of the story of just if you just believe, it'll work. I'm it's animation. This is one of the hardest fields to exist in. Stop with this blind optimism. And then,
meanwhile, the writers looking at the animation team who have to make the OVA.
Yeah,
just believe, guys.
You don't need money and success. It's all about the art, man. And I didn't like the characters in it. I thought the lead sucked. I didn't particularly care for the artist guy's 2 coworker friends. It just wasn't my vibe whatsoever.
I get that. My number 2, Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest.
Do you need to say more?
No, I don't. I feel like just the sheer like, oh man, I love eating flavorless oatmeal every day.
I sure love my daily gruel.
Just shovel it down into me.
Nick, you have to take your gruel vitamins. Like, okay.
Just like I got through years and years of like, all right, Fairy Tail's done. All right, Eden Zero's done. What do you mean there's more?
But again, it's so different. You know, you can't mistake it for the original Fairy Tail at all.
This kind has maple syrup in it.
Yeah, Levy is
just a little bit though. Like, you know, like we're talking like 1 drop per bowl.
Yeah, Levy is in it more. Like, oh, she's like a major character. No, but like you do get to see her more often.
Does she do anything except for like make googly eyes at Gajeel? I mean, sometimes they talk.
Yeah.
You know? Okay.
Sometimes they're kind of funny together.
Sometimes they're the healthiest couple in the series.
I mean, they gotta easily be the healthiest couple, I think, for the most part, right?
They stepped over that rod that was lying on the ground. Like,
yeah, they communicate with one another, so they're better than Gray and Julia, or whatever her name is.
Oh my God. That whole, I just remembered that whole thing with the twin Juvia, who's like, oh, she's a stripper. No, she's not. But
actually, that's not her job.
Gray for no reason.
Like, you know, her randomly fashion you didn't make a ton of sense, but I guess it is her job to do that or something like that. And then they're like, it's not her job. And I'm like,
no. Of course she's not a stripper. That would be improper.
She would be untoward then. Yeah, a whore. Oh god, yeah. Fairy Tail didn't make my list. I guess if only because it's. I've wiped it from my memory. Like, I've just reached that point with Fairy Tail stuff and just heroes work in general where I can't. Like, I just have to let it go. You know, like I think we were walking through Books a Million. We saw Dead Rock volumes, and Brennan made the joke. He's like, "You should read it." And I was like, "I physically can't fathom the idea of reading it. Like, I understand my eyes could like look over pages and panels and like words and action beats and all that, but it would consume none of it. It would be I'd be on full autopilot again, like I was back in mass when I was like 7 years old."
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. My number 1 is going to be Gamblefish.
Wow. Okay.
It's really bad when you think about it. We just talked about some
when you think about it.
Well, like, again, because my perception of the series was always the start of it, which was like horny, but like, I don't know, there was also like cool things too where he like cuts his finger off and bleeds all over the card so she can't cut the deck anymore, and like, I don't know, there were like fun, inventive things he was doing to succeed when he like manipulates that shitty gambler guy and even like manipulates his like crash out so that he'll like bounce against the table during the billiards matches. Like, there's something kind of fun and creative to that. But the end of that series has no creativity. It's just so much unrestrained horniness. And it's so bad at times. You kept mentioning examples. The little pervert mushroom head guy gets so bad towards the end. And like, honestly, it falls apart at the ending. Like, it's not even like over the top and grand. It kind of almost reminds me a little bit of Liar's Game ending, where it felt like kind of all the energy had kind of petered out right before the conclusion. Or at least like all the interest I had kind of petered out, because I was like, well, King Omaha's done, and I already kind of know that it's just going to be him versus the evil teacher and whatnot. So, just kind of ended on a bad note, and it wasn't a memorable series at the end for any good reasons. It certainly wasn't a quality thing, but I do appreciate that I now know 2 manga in which Barack Obama guest starred, with the nickname
And
Omaha.
they're both really horny.
Yeah. This actually might be the more chaste of the 2 of them.
I mean, it's got stiff competition for fan service from Air Gear, absolutely. Like that going up against Air Gear in a horny contest, that's so difficult.
Oh my god. Yeah, if you were like, I think I'm gonna do pretty good in this corny contest, and then you see one of your competitors is
Oh, great.
you're out, oh no. I just had a couple upskirts. This dude's gonna clobber me.
Okay.
The audience, by the way, we should note the audience had their best picks of 2025, where number 3 was Neon Genesis Evangelion, number 2, Bad Girl Exorcist Reina, and number 1 was Mission Yozakura Family. And then for the worst, Gamblefish and Lives of Eccentrics tied for 3rd place, Beaten Motion for 2nd, and then Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest 1 for worst series of the year.
Absolutely. Those are good choices for the audience.
Yes.
Personally, I kind of disagree with a couple of those, but I'm not surprised at all to see those come in.
Perfectly fair.
My worst series of the year that we covered is Absolute Boyfriend. I feel as though it's a very mild pick as far as a lot of the ones that we go through. But look, guys, you know me. There's one thing that unlocks my rage beyond death. It is whenever there's a shoujo series where very questionable messages for female-centric love stories are included. And there was a real doozy of one in this. It's not as bad, I will say, by far, as some of the others that we have covered, because the problem is not the love interest himself. It's not Knight. He's just kind of fine. He's, just kind of a pretty basic, just, of course you're going to be in love with him. He just is all about you, robot boy. He does nothing bad, really.
Yeah, he does leave that one dude unconscious in the water. And
I mean, to her.
Okay.
I mean, there are some elements of it that are bad, like when he's deliberately trying to isolate Rico from other people. Actually, I should say that was a pretty weird stretch in the middle of the series where he's just trying to just take her away from everyone so that she can be only with him. But he's programmed to be that way. I kind of give him more slack than all of the assholes that we have covered in the past.
Yeah.
But the thing that really got me going was when the other robot, the 2.0 robot, shows up and makes Rico think that she was drugged and raped, that somehow rough. It's her fault that happened, and that really the person who was wronged in all of this was Knight. Somehow that's the problem here.
It was a wild story. I forgot that kind of stuff would happen a lot more casually back then. But it's a bad moment, unfortunately.
And as I said, I don't think that would even make my top 15 worst series that we have ever covered on Weekly Manga Recap, because there are so many much worse things. But in terms of the series that we covered, the thing that pissed me off the most in a single moment, it was Absolute Boyfriend, and so I have to honor that.
Yeah. I think that's a very valid one as well. All right. So now that we've talked about all the series we read throughout the year, we're going to talk about the series we recapped throughout the year and kind of do our little guessing game, I think, to see if we can figure out where series were at the start of it. But we first have to go through the series that didn't last through the year, or the ones that started during the year and are still ongoing. So these are the series that we dropped from the recap. Star of Beethoven.
Yeah, there was a little bit of fun to be had. I did really appreciate that, hey, if the series is going to be about this, with the ghost of Beethoven showing up and, helping this kid to rediscover his love of the piano, at least Beethoven was fun in certain moments. And I did really like that one speech he had very early on in the series. Yeah. So, A for effort, it was never going to be very good, though.
That said, we'll talk about it, but Someone Hurts really has completely upended my thought of what's a success in Jump, because in my mind I'm this Beethoven series should have gone nowhere, but I also just never would have thought the 3 a.m. comedy podcast series would take off as well. Yep. I don't honestly have a ton of memories of Star of Beethoven. I heard it gets very weird as it goes further along. Like, it starts almost being like a cult of, like, resurrection might be behind why Beethoven's around. But, yeah, just one of those series I'm like, I don't know, maybe when I'm a little old lady and I'm like, I have things to do. I have so much time. Maybe I'll read that Star of Beethoven series. You know, in between my, like, 19th reread of iShield 21, I'm like, they finally reprinted it digitally. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's. I've actually got. I was able to get the first like dozen volumes of that earlier this year. I was so happy.
Heck yeah.
Then we had Nice Prison, which I think both were immediately like, no.
I think the way you read the title too made it almost sound like that was the joke of it, like nice prison, loser.
Nice prison.
Which would have been
would be a shame if somebody wrote a really unfunny comedy about this.
Yeah, I find it very funny that nothing about the series was amusing except the like vague premises around it. Like there was like maybe like half of a good gag per chapter, and then the rest was just stone cold garbage. With probably one of the worst, like, you know, there's quite a lot of these series in Jump where it's like a very over-the-top, wacky male character and then like a more straight-laced, straight man, female character go off of. And this was one of the most forgettable versions of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, rough series. Glad it's not in the magazine anymore.
Yep. One that is, as of today, still in the magazine. Harukaze Mound baseball series by, oh gosh, what was the name of the previous one that they did? I can't remember. But Togoto did that one psychic series before. The Phantom Seer.
Yes.
That was what it was called. And this was the follow-up baseball series about a twin brother who has the twin brother of an ace pitcher who himself turns out to be a lefty with like a weird sinker specialty. And I don't know, we just didn't really take to it. I think that it was just a matter of like we weren't really connecting with the characters. It's since gotten to the point now where it looks like it's in the final game of the series. That's what it seems to be.
Okay.
Because they're up against like the rival team now.
Yeah, it's a shame because there was a point even recently where I was like, maybe we should go back and read Harukaze Mound. Like, it looks like it's managed to survive its initial introduction into the magazine. Like, usually if you can survive like one or two axes, you're in a good spot because, you know, it's Jump. Most series don't make it. Like, it's a good kind of ground to have, but it looks like it's sinking all over again. And as you said, if they're in the, like, presumably the final match or what seems like it could be the final match, it's probably not a sign that it's going to stick around, and that's, you know, it's a bummer.
Kaedegami came out around the same time as Harukaze Mound. It was the seemingly kind of like Chinese themed series about a guy and his hot demon girlfriend, basically. I know that's a gross oversimplification. That wasn't really their relationship. But, you know, it was kind of a journeying monster slayer sort of series that we've seen quite a few of, including several this year. I thought that it was kind of intriguing at first, but I quickly lost interest on it. I think mostly because it didn't seem to really be leaning into doing the horror stuff as much as I felt that it should have.
Yeah, it was one of those series that just didn't leave a super strong impression on me, unfortunately. I wish I had kind of liked this one a little bit more, but I ended up bouncing off it pretty hard, and none of the follow-up chapters really helped with that, per se. Maybe it was just kind of an exhaustion that Jump already has a lot of these sort of, like, waifu series, or, you know, is maybe just a space like the Exorcist sort of monster area has just already been treaded so frequently that it really need more of a kind of gimmick to hold on to than just like, but there's a really attractive monster woman in this. And she honestly, it doesn't even have that interesting of a design per se. So
the most interesting thing about her design was, removed in the first
Yes.
chapter because she got her face back.
Exactly. Yeah. So not a series that I'm going to miss, but I do think if the author comes back with something else, I'd love to give it a try because I'd like to see something from them that I would enjoy more. I'd like to give it another shot.
Ekiden Brothers was after that, or Ekiden Bros, I guess, the long-distance running manga that had creepy faces that I hated immensely. um, did not understand at all what it was even trying to go for with the way it talked about running versus how it was presented.
Yes, it is a running manga that seemed to not particularly enjoy running or know how to explain it. The art was truly a wild experience. Our lead characters primary face they would make was a mixture of sort of anxious terror mixed with jubilant joy, but the former really felt like it took more of the forefront, so it felt very uncomfortable at times. He was always scared of everything that was going to happen. But also it was just very strange that this boy's parents are both in the field of long distance running, and it wasn't until high school that he was like, maybe I'll give this a shot. Maybe
I want to run.
maybe I want to do this. All right, champ.
Sure, how are you going to manage to do that?
But I have no knowledge of anything that happens in the rest of the series. I know it ended, and no one seems to miss it.
Yeah. Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo. This was basically an all Nick didn't want to read a Jujutsu Kaisen decision. So.
Yeah.
Honestly, I have tried 3 times since then to try checking out this series, and I have just completely rebounded off of it before getting 15 pages deep every single time. I just can't get into it. I'm sorry. So,
and that's perfectly fair. It sounds like it's a series that's not meant to run for a terribly long time either. It's Jump. Who knows if that's going to be the case or not? But the art in it's really, really pretty. It's a Cypher Academy artist.
Yeah,
that's good.
And they're very good. So.
Next up was Gonron Egg, the series about an egg.
That sure was gone real quick from the recap.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Is it actually gone out of the magazine already?
No.
Okay. I was going to say, it's still technically in there as of this recording, I think.
Yeah. Another kind of journeying Monster Slayer series. Seemed to be a bit more into look at these gross monsters than others, which is fine, but I don't know, there's something that is lacking in it, and I can't quite put my finger on it exactly. I think that it might just be that Gonron is just not a very interesting protagonist himself.
Yeah, I think that's a large part of it. I think it's also just a series that revels in sort of more cruelty than I like in Jump, but it doesn't necessarily add anything more to the dynamic than just that cruelty. You'll just get to see people get eaten and enslaved and killed and stuff like that. All their heads pop off and you're cool, but no one in this series is well written and interesting. You just have violence at this point, which isn't really a selling point for me.
Yep. On the other hand, we had The Mage Next Door, about the comedy series about a mage who comes from a magic land in order to catch other mages that have come into the human world. And he sets up basically a help agency so that they get leads on where the mages are so that they can stop them. He doesn't have a specialty in magic, so he doesn't have one very strong magic, but he's got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of spells to call on, a lot of which have very weird niche uses. And he uses the weird things in order to catch mages, like rubber band power and weird stuff like that.
This was a series that I think we both wanted to but it's not good. The idea of a spell, a mage uses a bunch of tricks. That's the most fun parts of the Usopp fights from early One Piece is using a bunch of little tricks to beat somebody. But the series just isn't like that. It's more hey, he has a powerful water attack, but it's a water spelling spray or something. It didn't really take advantage of that space as much, and I think it just lacked a good cast in at least the 3 chapters that we read. I think the third one was the one that was meant to establish sort of his tertiary character or secondary character. I guess there was the
Yeah,
fairy
his
as
sidekick,
well.
basically.
And it took a little too long to get there, which is wild to say on chapter 3. But honestly, she might have needed to be in there from chapter 1. To be honest, like the series kind of needed.
He's
someone.
on the cover. I don't know what took so long.
Yeah, I mean, hey, what's his name? Shinji, I think, is on the cover of Bleach. If you look at it, and you're like, oh, I know you must have had this.
That's
idea.
true. Yeah. If you look at the background, yeah. I remember when people were like, "Oh, the foreshadowing," and I'm like, Kubo just had a bunch of character designs, and he decided that he wanted to use one eventually, guys.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't mean that he was planning it from the beginning. That's not really how he works. Kubo doesn't plan. Like, come on.
And it's also very funny because I'm like, then you have to sit here and tell me right now that Shinji was an important character in the Bleach universe, and you know you can't.
You have to stare into my eyes and not blink as you say it. Oh man.
Oh, we also read the Hero Girl and Demon Lord Call It Quits. This was the comedy series where the Demon Lord and the hero decide they don't want to keep fighting anymore, so they're just gonna be roommates instead.
Yeah, and if you held a gun to my head and said, "Hey, this are Ekiden Bros. Which one do you want to be permanently in the magazine?" I'd be like, "Oh shit, which one do I have to choose between?" I really did not like this. I think that in general, it's kind of been received as like, it's a harmless enough kind of joke series. I just don't have any form of patience for it. I don't like the humor, and I'm kind of also sick of the whole like, oh, it's subverting expectations because the Demon Lord is kind of a slacker, and it's like I've seen that archetype so many goddamn times, so I really did not care for this.
Yeah, I didn't really have a strong thought on it, particularly the jokes weren't super there. I think maybe I laughed or got like a little bit of a chuckle during the last chapter we read, but even then I was like, I don't need this sort of series talking about it week to week. There's so little meat on those bones.
Mm-hmm. And that was it. That was the series that we just dropped. So everything else that we have from the recap is one that either it actually concluded or we're still discussing. And so we'll get into that in a minute, along with our little game where we try to remember where each series was at the start of the year. But I wanted to go over a little thing first. This is just an extra thing that I kind of thought to do this year, which was to talk a little bit about some of the anime news. It's all related to stuff that we have at least talked about on the recap in the past. So basically, Shonen Jump related stuff. So this year we had the debut of Sakamoto Days, which I don't know. I guess you guys like that or something.
I've heard good things. I have a friend in the local area who occasionally watches like anime, like Shonen Jump anime, but I've told him like kind of in like preparation, like series to look out for. He watched this one completely impromptu of his own, and it's probably been the one he's enjoyed the most. So it says something to it.
We had the first 2 parts of the last season, quote unquote, of Dr. Stone. The entire thing is like marketed as like, oh, science future. So basically it's all the stuff from when they actually sail to America and after. That's all contained within this chunk of it. Right now they're at the point where they've finished up stuff in South America. So the last stretch is probably just going to be them going to the moon. I think that's about the only thing that they really have to cover outside of like, they've got to get like Ryusui's brother before they do that, I believe. But I think it's just going to be like moon travel stuff.
Are they intending to cover any of that stuff that came after the ending?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to do the treasure thing that happened after or not. Second half of Blue Box Season 1 also was at the beginning of the year. In spring, there was Witch Watch. And then in summer, Dandadan Season 2, which I did not know actually had happened. I got my entire release timeline of that entirely mixed up in my head. There's more of that I have to catch up on than I realized. Kaiju No. 8 Season 2, which had such bad sound design that Nicole and I stopped watching the series entirely. It was annoying to watch. The sound effects during combat had no sense of impact at all whatsoever. It was like there would be explosions and stuff going off, and the dialogue would be drowning them out. It was so weird.
That's so baffling. Like, there's got to be
I don't know what
money in
happened,
that. Yeah.
honestly. And I mean, like, that's around the time. Season 2 is, it's when the Isao gets like taken by Kaiju number 9 and after. So it's like kind of the beginning of like when the series goes into a dull stretch anyway.
Yeah.
So I was already like, I don't know how it's going to be. And then we were literally watching him like this, just like, it's just annoying to watch. And so we just kind of like dropped it. So it sucked.
Yeah.
Spy Family Season 3 in the fall. And of course, the conclusion of My Hero Academia. Just watched the English dub of the last episode a couple of days ago. Really, really good final season.
Yeah,
enjoyed it a lot. By the way, I realized something while watching it. Quinn, the true hero of My Hero Academia is actually Jiro.
Okay.
Do you want to know why?
I would love for you to elaborate.
So, you may recall that in the final battle with Shigaraki, Deku loses his arms because he reaches out to try and save baby Shoko. I forget his Tenko, baby Tenko. He tried to save baby Tenko, but he gets his arms disintegrated in real life, and so he's not going to be able to fight no more. But then Eri fortunately provides her horn with all of her stored up quirk to Aizawa, who's able to deliver it and take Deku's body back in just enough in time that he gets his arms back. And so he's able to deal the final blow and defeat All for One and save the day.
Yeah.
Eri was only in that position because of the concert at the school festival, which chased off her darkness and made her want to live a life and sing and do all that stuff. And that was because of Jiro's song.
That's
so
right.
Therefore, My Hero Academia. There you go.
She's really, when you think about it, the most major character of the series. So it makes sense why she's treated that way, right?
Jiro is the key. Jiro is.
She's everything.
So I did not mean to go on that little diversion. A little bit more. Two big movies, of course, came out this year. There was Demon Slayer Infinity Castle Part 1 and Chainsaw Man Reze Arc, both of which made a shit ton of money and were big deals. And then we had two really big things, in my opinion, like kind of like the ending of a couple of eras, I would describe them as. First is that in March, Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush ended, which means that for the first time since like 2003, there is no Yu-Gi-Oh! Airing on Japanese TV.
Crazy.
Yeah, so Konami is doing like a net animation series on their YouTube channel that's about like the lore of some of their card sets.
Okay.
But there's nothing on Japanese TV right now.
Are there any plans for it or anything like that?
None announced.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Well, we say weird, but we're also coming to a point in time where I think we're witnessing the changing of some franchises, because this is also this is
the last bit of news. Yeah
no Sentai anymore either.
Yeah. And also Quinn, this is a new bit of news. It came out only in the last couple of weeks. One Piece season 1 is ending.
Where did this start? Because I thought somebody had even said that they were like, oh, well, like it's the first time they're going to go to seasonal. But I was like, didn't they do that for the start of Egghead, if nothing else? Like,
One Piece is being described as like it is actually like going to come out in seasonal releases now.
Yeah.
When it came into the Egghead Island, it actually like just kind of like continuously released up to that point. So now it's going to actually go on months-long breaks.
Okay.
In between seasons, which was kind of a necessary step, considering that Oda basically writes one chapter every 2 weeks almost at this point. It was going to be seriously overtaken very soon.
Oh, yeah. And it's just better for the animators. I would like to think that, you can create a better product when you have months to work on it, instead of like being kept to an extremely rigid timeline that something new has to be out every week.
Yep.
All right. Let's start talking about the series from the recap, Nick. And we do this alphabetically. So we're gonna start
Yeah,
with.
so
Oh,
uh, Akane-banashi. So our first chapter of the year was 141. I have so little idea of how the time scale on Akane-banashi works. I guess that this might have been during my Karu's promotion exam.
I was
That's
also
like as
thinking
far back as I can remember.
that's also where I was thinking, but I'm trying to think what was right before that because I feel like all of the Makeru stuff I think actually may have more or less happened this year. So I'm
I,
wondering
and
if
I
I'm wondering
I
if it's like the
suspect
very.
that's right. I literally just can't remember what happened immediately before that.
It's bad because in my mind I'm like, what was that motorcycle guy that Akane opened for his like Futatsume promotion? And they didn't show up, and I'm like, no, that was definitely like 2 years ago. Quinn, what are you doing? Like,
You mean Asagao, who didn't
yeah,
get to do, whose Rakugo we didn't get to see?
and it hasn't showed up since the time skip. He may have died, Nick. We need to face
He's also
piece of that.
gone.
He's also gone. Fuck. Um. Yeah, I will say that it is going to be, I guess, the very early parts of the Maikeru promotion exam. I guess when like Zensho threatens him. I think there was like a chapter early on where Zensho gets like threatens him right before he does it.
And apparently we're wrong.
Okay.
Apparently, this was actually right before the time skip. So we went back a little too far. So Akane was brought to a show for apprenticeship by Kaichi. Had a conversation with Kaisei, which renews their rivalry. They have a tense confrontation about Shigena's art. And then Akane's Zenza training is concluded, and the chapter ends with the time skip with Akane in France.
Damn. I can't believe I
I
missed
can't
that
believe
part.
that all. I can't believe that that little that's only that far back at this point. It feels like I don't know. It feels like we have not been post time skip for all year. Honestly,
Yeah, I guess it makes sense because there has been like her initial comeback, and there were several chapters, connecting to that, and then went right into that contest, and we had to do the first round of things where Akane had to like see that she was good, but not that good, and then actually do the following rounds after that, which also had us doing, oh gosh, Hiraki or what is his name? Remix guy.
which one? Which one are you talking about?
Her rival friend, who she
Hikaru.
did no, who she did the zoo with.
Oh, with wasn't that Karashi?
Karashi. Yeah, I couldn't think of his name. I wanted to
Okay.
call him Hikashi. So she, we had
Oh,
this
okay.
go through Kazashi's storyline, and then there was like this weird part where there were like 3 chapters where there was just like blank pages mostly. But that was important to the story, and then Akane went. So like it does make sense when I start actually like placing it out on the timeline.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. In terms of thoughts on Akane-banashi, really liked it. I've really liked the direction that we've been taking since Akane has come back from her excursion. I like that we've gotten the mix of like, hey, she's gained a lot of valuable experience, but also there's a lot of downsides to it because during the past 3 years she has not been cultivating an audience, so she's kind of lagging behind her rivals in a certain way. We got a really satisfying arc that took a long time to accomplish to have her overcome her rivals with a really big handicap that was working against her, where she had to figure out the riddle of like, hey, don't make your audience laugh, and what that actually meant. She took an approach that really didn't work, and then discovered the true nature of it. We got introduced as well to Tyson, to kind of like be her sort of like wall to bounce ideas off of kind of character. We got introduced to Shomei, who's been a really fun new kind of mentor character. We got in some great stakes due to her continued tension with each show, the fact that Shigema's got throat cancer and has not recovered from that. We've gotten a lot of tension building up because she still hasn't seen all of her older brother apprentices. There's so much stuff to love about the time that's been going on in the Akane-banashi. I think that it is consistently my favorite series in Shonen Jump right now.
High praise, high praise. I like it. It's interesting though, because thinking about it, I was like, oh, well, not that much actually happened in Akane-banashi if the time skip was this year. It's weird. I have very good thoughts about Akane-banashi. I've been enjoying it a lot recently. But when I look back on the whole of the year, I mean, I don't think I would stand out almost any moment from Akane-banashi this year that much. They were good. But I think the moments that really hit the most were like the very, very recent ones where she had like multiple like intense conversations either with the show or about the show.
And Kaisen has been another big part of what's exciting about the series is his renewal as like a proper established character.
Yeah.
And his relationship to Akane.
Yeah. And I think those aspects work really well. But yeah, I think as a whole, it's probably been one of the better series this year, but also I think there are some parts that I look back at and almost kind of, try to remember what even happened during them. Like I'm
Speaking of which, Akane-banashi good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I didn't know if we were transitioning into Astro Royale there.
I kind of pounced on that. It just felt like it.
Go for it.
Astro Royale. So this series ended in mid-April. So the first chapter of the year was chapter 36. If I had to guess, I don't think that the Astro Royale had quite happened yet. Had quite begun yet. I'm not sure though. I'm gonna say it's the chapter where Tarasu wins a battle by using his shield. Like the girl that he's fighting just like blows herself up. And then he takes the wrong lesson from that in his very next fight when he's like, I need to be able to attack. And it's like, you want to fight by having a shield before.
Okay, so you're placing it still back in like when he was fighting against those cop characters?
Yes,
okay.
When they were still on the oil rig.
I'm gonna try to go more recent than that. I'm saying I don't know if they were at the Astro Royale tournament yet, but I think they were headed that way. Like, don't they meet that little kid first who's like, my sister's been kidnapped by gangsters?
That fucking useless plot point.
I think maybe that's where we were. It was that fucking chapter.
Where he just takes her back as soon as it's an opportunity.
And it's fine. She was only being held captive by a bunch of sadomasochistic gang members. I'm sure there was nothing traumatizing about this. There's no harm, no foul, really, when you think about it. The preliminary round. So neither of us were right. I guess I was technically closer. Yeah. The actual battle royale to determine the tournament matchups begins. Ends on the start of Hibaru's first round against Hichaku Negosogi.
I don't even remember who that was.
No. I think one of like three brothers he fights in that tournament, or two brothers he fights in that tournament, or some nonsense like that. Irrelevant, garbage. Astro Royale was straight dookie. It sucked throughout.
And we had known it for a long time by this point. So
yeah, this was after all that dumb cop fighting stuff, which I almost was like, maybe it was in there, and I was like, no, that garbage had to have been 2024. I can't imagine it was still going on then. That stupid tournament took forever. All of it was really, really bad. That entire tournament was just like an annoying waste of time, and not fun. Just so many annoying, stupid matchups, annoying, dumb rules, characters that look like they should have a power that counters our lead character, and then he just punches them, and it's like, nope, he's better than all of them. He's got it. You just can't. He's got that it factor. You can't stop him.
Honestly, its main value to us was just that it was easy to hate. Yeah, that's about it.
Fun to make fun of, not much else.
Yeah. Black Clover, don't make me guess this. Come on. How am I supposed to remember this?
I'm going to say, because there's only so many chapters, and I'm saying it was the Noct fight, or Nature Boy Flare fight chapters.
You're like, oh, wait, I forgot my gimmick.
I'd say kayfabe for a sec, yeah.
The fire siblings do something, or no, wait, it's I'm gonna say Noelle does the thing against their mom, and her siblings finally respect her. I'm going to say that. I think that's it.
Nick, we're both wrong. It's before Astro and Miyano versus Master Lucius, which has been the entirety of this year, I guess.
You could have said that of January 2024 as well. Bullshit.
Asta and Miyano reach and confront the main Lucius before starting their fight. Yeah, Black Clover is this beast that it's, I don't ever want to get sad when I talk about it, but it is a series that I wish would end sooner rather than later, but I also am glad that Tabata is getting to sort of end this on whatever terms is working best for him, hopefully. And, I'm excited to get to the conclusion that I assume will happen probably within the first couple, months of 2026.
Hopefully we get a conclusion soon, and hopefully Tabata is satisfied with the conclusion. That's about all I can say about it. Blue Box. We had a chapter 179 at the start of this year. I am going to just say the one thing that I can remember that is vaguely from the right time period, and I'm probably going actually a little bit too far back. I'm going to say it's when Taiki gets locked in the shed by the dude who's trying to mac on Chinatsu, and she's immediately like, "Why'd you do that?" And I think that, and I'm going to be specific and say the chapter where Taiki gets locked in the shed, because the next one is where Chinatsu confronts the guy.
I don't even know. There was a point where I remember Hina was flirting with who's the younger Haruto. They were like painting a castle for like a school play or some shit where I'm saying the chapter where they were painting that set backstage. I can't think of anything else.
I get you.
Yeah, basketball action was the first full chapter of the Chinatsu Yumika fight. That makes more sense, actually.
A lot happened this year, actually, in Blue Box, didn't it?
Yeah, when you think about it, like a lot of pretty big conclusions. I mean, this was the end of Chinatsu's time in high school. That was all concluded within this year, and that was the huge part of the story. I mean, we're talking about, I think Blue Box was said to be like entering its final little stretch here, and it makes sense. The series probably isn't going to keep going after Taiki leaves school. So we're basically going to wrap up, I think, his school year and then probably end there. And he's coming up on it,
Yep, we've had Chinatsu and Taiki continue to be a nice, strong couple, although facing new challenges because Chinatsu has moved out. She's started college, and they're not able to see each other as much. It was very effective when then, because Chinatsu was able to see Taiki, there was that big emotional release, and it was like, oh wow, this is like just the value that they really have to each other. You really feel it, because when they're apart, they aren't as strong as they are together. And on top of that, had some drama with Hina, had some drama with Ayame and Kyo. So good stuff.
Yeah. I liked this year of Blue Box a lot. I think Blue Box has been really effective in what it's done this year. And it's had some really, really good high points where there's just been like really nice stories going on. I mean, it even had me like emotionally aghast when like a chapter ended with like Taiki's mom going down. I was like, oh my God, you can't do this to her. So yeah, I think really, really effective. Alright, Nick, we get to talk about our favorite series. Where was Boruto 2 Blue Vortex at the start of this year?
Boro 2 oh no Tex. It's chapter 18 was where we started this year. I actually know the answer to this for a very dumb reason, and I'll explain why I know it after you guess.
Okay. What happened this year? Quinn, think Boruto.
So many important things that were very that shook up the entire manga world.
Okay, so the only other thing that I think that happened before this current arc we're in right now was the Sand Kingdom stuff. I don't even know if that's correct. They never leave the initial sand dune they show up in, so I don't even know if calling it like the Sand Kingdom.
They never go. That's right. They never go to the village.
They just show up in some random desert area, and they're like, "Well, this is where we'll fight to the death as well."
This is where the DBZ fight would be, so we'll have it here.
I'm gonna say it is the chapter This is probably going too far back, but you gotta just take your shots. This is where they had captured or whatever they had to do to Gara's kid to make the clone of him.
So you're saying that it's actually at the moment of capture that this happened with, where they captured Shinki.
Yeah,
and,
Shinki.
Okay.
I'm gonna say that.
Yeah. You went a little too far back.
Yeah.
The reason I know this, Quinn, is because for one of the poll answers, we had to choose the worst relationship this year. And this is where the chapter that is all about Konohamaru and Moegi, aka Matsuri. So where Shikamaru has to tell Konohamaru that Moeki's in love with him. And he has the weird conversation with Matsuri where she's like, I don't know why I'm reacting this way around you. And she tries to call him Konohamaru, and he's like, no, I don't think you should call me that. It completely blows it.
What a cool suave ninja he is.
It's such a... God, every ninja in Naruto doesn't know how to be a fucking ninja. It's so stupid. And meanwhile, yeah, like Ryu or the Iron Sand Shinki guy is also like out in the desert with all the others right before they have their fight.
Yeah. What an awful year of this awful series. It's probably not the worst year in like its history or anything like that. I think more than anything, it's probably harmless. But like this series just blows. It's every chapter is like a suffering that I have to take upon me. Like it's never anything I meet with even a modicum amount of joy or eagerness. Like I'm never like unless the cover art was like the sensory ninja who we dunk on. Like I just don't think it's ever gonna happen. Like, you know?
Yeah. Oh God, it's bad. It's really frustratingly bad. We'll talk about, I think, how bad it is more later because there are negative categories in the year-end rewards, and Boruto's in a couple of them, definitely. Chainsaw Man no, was 188 at the start of the year. Oh, man. I know that the real Lil D emerged this year, so I don't know exactly when that happened, though. Maybe it's the chapter before we knew she was Lil D, where she turned down... No, I think that's going back too far. I'll take that back. Oh, fuck. Screw it. I'm just going to say that it's the chapter where... God, it's all a blur. God damn it. I can't...
Yeah, this series is impossible to remember where it's been because it's all over the place. Go ahead.
Aging Devil.
Okay.
They were in the Aging Devil's forest, and I think that it was like as they were getting out of it, basically. I think it was like their last chapter in the Aging Devil forest thing.
I'm taking advice from you, because in my mind I was like, I don't know, the chapter where Yoshida and Denji try to team up, and then Yoshida reveals he's a bomb, or something like that, and I was like, no, that's a little too late, so I'm going to say the chapter where Little D, or not Little D, but like, the Famine Devil reveals that she is the Famine Devil. I'm going to say it's that chapter.
Okay. I think that we might have sandwiched it, according to this. It was in the Aging Devil's forest, but it's the one where Yoshida appears in the Aging Devil's world, and they decide to team up, and then they start to put their plan into action to fight against the Aging Devil. So we were kind of dancing around it, but didn't quite hit it.
Same in that area.
Yeah, there was some wild stuff that happened in Chainsaw Man this year. There was a lot of just like very bad times, it felt like. But then we did finally get into the fight between Yoru and Denji, which has at least been very wild. It's been fun to see Yoru go totally off the deep end ever since the nuclear bomb was reinvented by America, and how on the nose the political messaging of the series has become. And hopefully we're getting to a conclusion to their fight soon, because it's starting to feel a little bit long in the tooth, I think.
Yeah, I will say I think this was a better year for Chainsaw Man than it has been in recent years, if only because we're getting to some level of a conclusion, and like we're getting like very over the top crazy things, which is when Chainsaw Man is at its best. Like I guess the sadness Konga that has been Denji's life has suddenly kind of run its course. So now he gets to just be okay with himself for a little bit, and that's when Chainsaw Man's probably its most enjoyable. But I still think that this year has lacked. It hasn't like completely won me back. Like I'm not like, frothing at the bit to get a new Chainsaw Man chapter the way I used to be, but it has still definitely been nicer than it was like probably the last like year or two.
Yes. I would say that it I feel more positive about it than I did this time last year. Yes.
All right, Dandadan, Nick. Now, we didn't talk about Dandadan this year, but I don't think it was that late into last year when we like took it on or whatever. Maybe we did. I just remember, wasn't this where it started with like a 4-month break?
According to the release schedule, there was a chapter that dropped on January 6th.
Yeah.
Then there was only one chapter in February. There was like a full month break between January 20th and February 24th.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember what happened during that bit, and
I think there was the arc introducing Yukishiro, but I'm not sure exactly when it was in that time frame.
I think I actually know almost exactly when this is.
I think it was kind of early days in it, though, because she definitely didn't like get her power at the start of the year. It was definitely before that.
I'm gonna say it's the chapter where they realize they need to go to the get the curse removed, but then they also realize something is going on at the gym, so the two groups like break off.
Oh yeah.
And then I remember that being like right before the break, and then we had to wait, and like we came back with one of the groups then.
Gotcha.
So that's where I'm saying.
Okay, we can go with that.
I do like this. The too long didn't read that Ninja provides is, I don't know, I don't read this, and then Molderman provided it. The gang look for the culprit handing out powers. It's revealed that Miss Adachi is the one who is using the Zhongji. And then Haze, the jerk asshole who has out for Okurun, gets the power of the jumping crone and will target him now. So I'm trying to think where I am in that. I might be a little bit after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was a great year, I think, for Dandadan. This was really, really fun. I think there have been some really, really entertaining fights. I think the only thing that really holds Dandadan back this year is the amnesia stuff has not worked for me necessarily, and unfortunately it is taking up part of this year and will continue into next year as well. So
and at the beginning of the year, Momo was already shrunk down, and then the amnesia has followed on from that.
Yeah.
So I understand your frustration with that as someone who wants her and Okurun to just kiss already.
Yes, please.
I have loved the amnesia stuff personally, so I've got more positive feelings about the series as a whole, especially in terms of recency bias. There actually was a chapter of Dandadan that we haven't talked about yet that dropped on Monday, but because of the release schedule of that, versus everything else, we'll just talk about it with everything next week.
Yeah.
So it'll be good. And I really enjoyed like some of the powers that we got. There were some really fun fights. It felt kind of like a bit of a back to roots sort of stretch of time, because we haven't had like a really protracted arc in terms of like there's one big thing that's being built up to. There's been a lot of smaller things kind of going on all at the same time that have been connected to each other. And I've really enjoyed the series this year. It's been really fun to have it in the recap, and I'm glad that any reservations that I had before we picked it up have proven to be completely unfounded. It's been great.
Yeah, I really, really am glad we picked up the series, and it's super fun just talking about it and reading it week to week. Anytime I get to chat with any of my friends about it after like a new chapter comes out, like I immediately, the chapter that just came out, messaged my friend Little Dan, who's all about pumpkins, and I was like, hey, why did they put you in this chapter?
Oh, we had Embers. Remember the name.
That started this year.
It started in early February, so no chapter 1 to have to guess. Ended very quickly, unfortunately.
Yes.
I think we both really enjoyed it. This was like it felt like it was the best attempt at a sports series in Shonen Jump that we've gotten in a while, and unfortunately, it just did not catch on. And I think it just comes down to it didn't have like sexy enough boys, I guess.
That's always your complaint with series, though, Nick. You're always saying they failed because they didn't have enough sexy boys.
I thought that the art in the series was cool. I loved how Haitani was portrayed as a horrifying monster in the making, and how that was the visualization of them as like different types of animals, and how he was a horrifying wolf that would snap your neck. All good stuff. And he was just also a really fun character because he was, a doofus in an endearing way when he wasn't playing soccer. His journey was really fun because you got to see like what the sport meant to him as he was discovering his love for it. It was all really, really good. I wish we had gotten so much more of it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, especially towards the end. It started to get like kind of violent with the character whose like whole thing was his eyes and the way to portray that Hayatani had
stab your eyes out.
Yeah, like gouged his eyes out. Essentially, it was brutal, and I really do like this. I don't want to say the whole series because it did have issues. It really kind of needed like a secondary character who you could also want to spend time with, and unfortunately the series just had a character who wasn't that compelling. Just felt like too much of maybe a composite of characters who had occupied that space before. And I think it maybe lacked the ability to create like interesting antagonists for Haitani to go up against immediately. But it was fun, and Embers was a good time.
Yes. Chapter 25 of Hematen was the first one that we had this year. Okay, I know Kana had shown up by that point, but man, I do not know what happened in this chapter.
I'm trying to just think of like a story that must have happened multiple months ago.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's the chapter where Kana... I'm going to say it's after she took the kids to the amusement park, so it's the chapter where her mom, or Iamori's mom, like lets her get like her hair done at a big discount at her store.
Gives her the discount stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, she must have moved to Tokyo by this point. I'm going to say that it was actually a chapter focused on Himari, who you know what? I'm going to say it was at the beginning of their school trip, where they went on the bus and all that stuff happened, because there was the whole thing with Honoka and Iamori being the different class reps and that kind of thing. So I'm going to say it was the very beginning of their school trip. That's my guess.
Okay. Too long didn't read post-school trip.
Post-school trip, damn it!
I don't even know where the fuck my chapter was in the mix of all that. I know Ninja will send me a message at some point and it was like, Quinn, you're an idiot.
Damn it! Kana is only in homesick due to the others being on the school trip, and Iamori and Himari go with her to a shrine together. So it was a Kana chapter. God damn it!
It's always a Kana chapter when you think about it. Hema 10, or Hema 71, whatever number we're at right now.
Right.
Unfortunately, I think this was the year where I think this series has gotten much worse in our eyes because we both enjoy Someone Hurts more and already enjoy the different flavor that Blue Box provides. And it's becoming more evident that like Hematen doesn't always have that sauce that can make this sort of series compelling. And
I think that is kind of why we've been getting a little bit more horny Hematen recently. Is like, well, I'm getting squeezed out here. I can't be
wholesome as much anymore. I gotta be a little bit of a rascal.
Yeah, which is a shame because at its peak, Hematen has been very good. There were definitely some good chapters of the series this year. We definitely had some big awe moments, especially in relation to Himari's big feelings and stuff during like the summer trip and Christmas and all that shit. But it's I think gradually gone downhill in the last few months. And hopefully we see that change, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Ichi the Witch, Nick.
Chapter 17 was our first of this year, and so that means that we must have had. Oh no, wait! It's got to be this because I was about to go a little bit too far forward, but then I remembered how so many nominations were about the confrontation with the World Hater Magic.
Yeah.
So it's got to be during that. Like that's got to be when this happened. When we got like assurances like, no, Each of the Witch is sticking around, guys. Because this was around the time that early series get canceled. So given that it got nominated a lot, I'm going to say that it's the chapter where Descarus blows the fuck up out of the World Hater Magic with Iskandar.
Okay. I will do The Price is Right, and I'm going to go one chapter before that. The chapter before they fight.
So when I guess when Ichi tries to
it's
fight
like the one where Ichi
Magic?
fights and then Descarus, I guess, must save him at the end or something like that.
TLDR just before Descarus versus World Hater. God damn it! Oh, you sniped one from me, Quinn.
The Price is Right works! Yes!
Ichi seemingly freezes the World Hater Magic only for them to easily break free. When the World Hater brings him closer while he's seemingly unconscious, Ichi stabs them in the neck with a branch. The World Hater starts to warp Ichi only for Descarus to stop them. You fucking sniped it!
Thank you for calling that, because I didn't look up any of the nominations. I did not think the World Hater Magic stuff was this year, and I was going to be like, I don't know, man. When Bakugami shows up, I don't know.
This has been a amazing year for Ichi the Witch.
It's crazy how much is in this year.
To think that this is how the year started, and then we got the first full proper arc of the series that introduced, of course, Gokuraku. All the stuff with Bakugami was so good. It had an incredibly emotional conclusion to it after what felt like a really big ordeal that involved everyone having to do it. And now we're in the midst of a really cool stuff involving the Chrono Weaver and Octobomb magics. This has been a great year for Ichi the Witch, which is emerged as basically being like one of the flagship series in Shonen Jump, and very deservedly so.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been an incredible year. The Bakugami arc was really, I think, the like final nail that I needed to see. That I was like, oh, this series has all that juice. Like this is great stuff, and it's only continued it. Like there's the great chapters where they come back and he's dealing with Kamugi's sister and all the new like art designs that we got with the new Team Descaraz and just all the fun stuff that then led into this arc and everything that we're currently going on with Crone and Kizashi. Just amazing stuff in general from Ichi the Witch this year. I don't know, maybe it's early to say, but I do think this is probably the only series that really had like an amazing year in Jump this year.
Kaiju number 8. First chapter was 120. Of course, the series concluded in the middle of the year. I'm just going to make a guess real quick. I'm going to say it's fucking that thing where like all the samurai spirits and shit give Kafka his boost thing. Why not? I'm just going to say that. That might be going back too far.
There was a scene where, like, the tiger did something, right?
Correct. There was.
That was in last year's recommendation. So it has to be, like, a bit after that. But I don't know what happened in that bit. It's all just, like, annoying nonsense. I'm going to say it's when Kafka wakes up out of being torn into that, like, fucking Meiji era flashback stuff.
I think you may have Prices Righted me again. I'm not sure if this qualifies. According to this, the TLDR is that it's when Kafka takes on his full white form. So he attacks the Kaiju after reviving and is now much stronger. and thinks about how he was powerless as a kid. So I think you might have that.
I was trying to say the chapter where he transforms, but I wasn't sure if that was a second chapter, like he wakes up and then transforms the chapter after that. But I was just combining. I was separating two chapters, I think.
So you might have that.
Yeah, we'll see. That's entirely on Ninja, I guess, or I don't know. Maybe we're adults. We can say whatever. Nick, you also get a point.
Hey, points for everybody.
You get a point. You get a point.
Marriage Toxin.
Yeah, Marriage Toxin. This is...
Oh, sorry. What did you have feelings about Kaiju number 8, Quinn?
It's done. How can I possibly have another feeling? Hallelujah. It's so good now that it's done.
Yeah. At least it finished.
Yeah. I want to give it nothing but praise now that I don't have to read it anymore. I'm like, what an ending. You know, so incredible. The part where it concluded, the moment when that last chapter happened and I didn't have to read it anymore. Oh, it's going to stick with me forever.
Marriage Toxin, chapter 111. This is kind of tricky. I might be going back too far with this, but think it might be the conclusion of the fire user arc, where Hikaru just like beats the father's guy's ass and they leave. But I might be going too far back when I say that.
I was going to say, I think it is the arc with Dangerous Tezuka, but I think it's maybe like right before... Oh, no. I think it's actually like sort of the tail end of that arc. I'm actually going to play it a little bit maybe later and say it's the chapter where they rescue Himikawa, and it's like right towards the tail end of that arc.
Oh, Dangerous to Kurizaka. Right. Yeah.
First chapter
we're both wrong,
of the taste user storyline. That makes sense.
Yeah, because it takes place between those things, I believe.
Yeah.
It was that was the quick little storyline that involved the taste users and stuff, and just kind of a little bit of a break. And then we got into all the stuff where Nasu got much more heavily involved in the series with the creepy doll showing up in the background as things started to get more and more. And then we got the ultimatum made to Garo that he really needed to settle on a bride already. He got separated from Kinasaki during the stuff with the CEO battle. He went to prison after we got the reveal that, of course, the doll user was Sensei, who was actually Nasu. This has been a fun year for Marriage Toxin. There was some cool fights that happened. There was that whole thing involving where Chinatsu was involved with the old rivals that were also in love with each other.
Oh my god, was that this year as well? Holy crap.
I think that was this year. And then I have to say that it was really cool to see, like, hey, here's like the obvious end game, and the obstacle in the way is that someone wants Garo to have children with 6 women.
Was that this year? Because I thought Kurito showed up during the restaurant arc.
Who's that?
The iron sword user guy. Maybe it was after. I think it was after. You're right. Yeah. Wow, man, what a year! So many things happened. I like it too because it also feels like Marriage Toxin is now firmly moving in a direction. Before, it was kind of this nebulous thing. We kept kind of getting more girls showing up, and like it was sort of a thing of like, how big is this potential harem going to get? And it feels like very firmly cut off at this point. They're like, hey, these girls are the only ones that he's going to be pursuing. And now that there's a bit more direction there, I'm like really interested to see where they want to take the rest of the story from here.
Yeah, funnily enough, with that like avenue of the story being closed, of like, no, Garo's not going to just like get more and more love interests. It's like opened up the series to do a lot more things now.
Yeah, absolutely. I liked Marriage Toxin a lot this year. I'm really excited to see where they start to pull all these storylines together. I presume as soon as Garo gets out of prison, he has to immediately go rushing to save the 3 of his friends who have been like taken captive, and God knows what's been happening to them since then. But then at the same time...
And we know Kinosaki is on the island currently, so like, how are things going to resolve between the 2 of them? Are they going to get to see each other at all? And how will that go if they do?
How do they intend to incorporate the one girl who's still not a part of things yet?
Yeah, where she's like, I want to have his children.
They'll be like, oh, we also captured her. It was less significant than the other ones. We just kind of Wile E. Coyote painted like a thing on a cavern wall that said like Garo's baby's inside here, and she just walked into it, knocked herself out. It's pretty easy.
Oh my gosh! But taking the exact opposite track, Quinn, a series that can't stop adding love interests to the harem, New Exorcist, which began on the first chapter this year was 81. Any guesses of what happened in that? I unfortunately reread or skimmed through everything this year in order to make my decision for a very important category, so I cannot actually answer this.
I'm going to say, I'm only saying this because Brennan put together his submissions when he was still at my place, and I believe he mentioned one of these characters, and like it was like worst rivalry or something like that, and he mentioned Gakuro and some character's name I didn't remember. No, he was like, who is that? And he's like, remember Renji, essentially? And I was like,
Renji, yeah.
Holy shit. So I'm saying it's that. It must be in the arc where they go to inside of the Shino or Fumino family residence or whatever. And it must...
Can you be more specific?
I'm going to say it is the chapter he is fighting that Renji guy clone.
Can you be more specific?
Okay. I'm going to say it is... It's either the chapter where he first runs into him, like he encounters someone. I'm going to say it's the one where he beats him, where like they have their big back and forth, and then Gakuro, I forget how, he probably a girl kissed him or some shit. He just beats Renji guy.
I am so sorry, Quinn. You were so close. You were hovering over the right answer, and then you went the other direction. It is the chapter where he first runs into Kabane.
Yeah.
After going through the sewers, where the stupid Karasu Tengu presence erasure power, he's just running directly through all the stuff together demon bodies and stuff, and then Kabane doesn't fall for it, and they start fighting. This has been a weird year for New Exorcist because...
Why are we talking about it now? There's like 2 entirely separate awards in our categories that are devoted to this.
I need to make just a general claim about this series. It's kind of been a little bit better than before, which has made it worse, if you know what I mean.
Fair. That's very fair.
It hasn't gone into the stupid bullshit that I like most about the series as I would prefer. And because it makes occasional motions towards having some sense of storytelling structure, I'm frustrated with it because it's only just like fails at that as opposed to succeeding unintentionally at being very, very bad and fun.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about it this week or in this episode because there's a what the fuck award category, and it's almost all New Exorcist at this point. I will say as a large, it's still not a good series. I don't want to say starting to slide into the, like, New Exorcist is actually kind of low-key good crowd, because I'm not. It's not good. But I am starting to find a level of, I think, the sort of semi-ironic, semi-self-aware level of humor that I think you need to have to actually enjoy the series on any level. I just don't enjoy the actual story beyond it. Like, I can enjoy and appreciate the dumb piss jokes and, like, all the new child that immediately ages up into, like, a love interest character. Like, all that nonsense. I'm like, what wild, silly stuff. But then you get, like, chapters like the most recent ones where I'm like, don't Don't make this a
No,
real
stop.
thing. Like, stop. This isn't, like, stop trying. Like, this is almost embarrassing now.
100% agree. One Piece. We were at 1,135. And, yeah, it may be difficult to remember a time before this flashback, Quinn, but we were before the flashback. But we were still in the Elbaf arc, and I believe, more specifically, I think that this chapter heavily featured the Elbaf library, where they did the whole thing with, like, the books that could, like, shrink and grow.
Oh, okay, so you're still in, like, the introduction into Elbaf and some of its rules.
Well, yes, into its rules and stuff, but after, they had gone through all the bullshit of, like, oh, we're being kidnapped and stuff like that, and where are we and stuff like that. They're actually interacting with all of the Elbaf residents and everything. I think the library was prominently featured.
I think I'm going to not Price is Right you, but piggyback off your answer. I'm going to say this chapter also involves the library, but this is the chapter where the library gets burned, or where they make the decision to burn the library to save the kids.
Oh, okay.
I think that they have to be, because One Piece took so many breaks, and if the flashback wasn't the entirety of the year, it felt like it needed to be pretty close to it. So in my mind, I'm just going to say that they were already at the point where they were dealing with the Holy Saints. And I think it's just at the tension point must have been where they were at.
All right.
Oh no, you were right at it, Nick.
I don't know why I know that.
Wow.
For some reason, I just do. Quinn, a couple years ago, I couldn't remember that chapter 1000 was the first chapter, but for some reason, I remembered this.
You're deciding
I
to make
don't know why.
Stance of the Giant Freed at Savity is reintroduced. This is crazy stuff. I mean, this is good because this does show me that my perception was wrong, that more happened this year in One Piece than I thought. This year has been interesting for One Piece in that we have gotten some insanely high highs of One Piece. Some of, like, the coolest stuff that One Piece kind of has had lying in wait for us was revealed this year. And, like, all the stuff with rocks, I think, was really well done. But it happened in the middle of a flashback that I think is supposed to be, like, emotionally very significant for the arc we're currently in. But it felt like a backseat in its own flashback. So it's definitely kind of torn down a lot of my enthusiasm for Elbaf and, like, Loki specifically.
Yeah, this was a down year for One Piece and for me personally. I think that it just was a matter of, like, we lost all the momentum by this point that was going on in terms of the present. And it felt like, as I've said many, many times by this point, that the flashback was not catered to the actual arc that, it's allegedly about. So it feels like we've lost any and all momentum about that. And it feels like when we come back in, I'm going to have to, like, study to catch up on what's actually happening.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I will say that I enjoyed portions of this year really, really well. I think there were some really, really standout moments. But as a whole, I do feel like this arc and this flashback have suffered primarily just from the fact that, like, One Piece feels like it's got more important stuff to do than all this Elbaf stuff. And I guess I just need to see if Oda is able to tie it all together. Like, I'm still waiting to see if this flashback can get me to cry and get, like, a real emotional moment out of me. I think there was supposed to be one earlier that just didn't connect because I didn't care enough about Yarden's mom that much. But I'm still waiting to see, like, can Oda pull this all together? Because I remember being really invested in where things were for the Straw Hats before the flashbacks started happening. Because, like, things were bad. Like, half the Straw Hats were captured.
Yeah.
The library's getting burned down. Like, all this stuff is going really, really poorly. And I want to see where they're going to try to take it from here.
Yeah. Let's see if we can bang out 3 of these real quick, because they are all series that started this year, so we don't have to do any first chapter guesses. We had Odor of the Flame, Ping-Pong Peril, and Someone Hurts. Ping-Pong Peril, of course, ended very quickly. We quite enjoyed it, but I think understood why it did not last.
Yeah.
This was the ping-pong battle series that had wild rules with every match. It was a ton of fun to read it and to talk about it. And I do really hope that the second effort of the mangaka bears more success for them, because I feel like they've got a lot of creativity and humor to offer.
Absolutely.
Oter the Flame, follow up, of course, to Hunter's Guild Red Hood. I was quite enthusiastic about talking about this because Vikings, and unfortunately, is not really borne out for what I was hoping for. Doesn't
they talk
seem
about
really
stools though a lot in Viking myths,
oh man,
right? They're always
so
talking
much.
about having to sacrifice.
And
one of the
then I burned the first leg of my stool, and I made it through the Ragnarok. Yeah.
Ivar, your stool, no.
Yeah. Just doesn't really have the emotional impact it feels like it really needs to. Occasionally some really fun design ideas and fight ideas, but it just doesn't really all come together. But we're still covering it, still going.
What's been a better Viking experience for you, Nick? Oter of the Flame or the tag team of that name in WWE? I think there's something else now, but
I think they're just called the War Raiders now.
Okay. They finally were like, "I'll just call you whatever your name was."
Yeah. I mean, I do actually really like Ivar, the giant dude who could do moonsaults. But in terms of them actually representing Vikings, they're terrible for that. It's all, through the lens of what an 80-year-old dude who is completely uncultured thinks of Vikings. And then Someone Hurts, which real dark horse, I would have to say, of the newer series that have caught on in Shonen Jump, the 3 a.m. comedy podcast that is also about a burgeoning romance between two guys, a guy and a girl, I guess, more specifically, getting to know each other. We don't get all the jokes all the time because sometimes they're very pop referencey. But it's been a series that we have been really quite enjoying, and it's a very cozy series. It's very sweet at times.
This was definitely one of the craziest surprises of this year. When we first read it, I wasn't expecting to really love this. I can't remember if I even got this. I think we both kind of liked this series and kept it in. We both, by the third chapter, had been like, I'm kind of enjoying this. Let's keep it going. I want to kind of read the series that's about stand-up comedy. But I, did that again on the idea, the lark, that it's this series won't possibly last that long. And instead, this series is gargantuanly mega huge. This is maybe one of the most successful new series Jump has had since, Rory Dragon. It's insane how well. Its first volume has sold out already, and it's not out yet. It is
it's not out yet.
The pre-orders are just sold out. Everyone wants this thing.
People were pointing out that for the final cover of Shonen Jump that came out, which was this big, spread that featured all the series that were done up in a stained glass window style. Very neat. That there, of course, is Luffy in the middle, and then there's kind of rings around him, and then the further that you go out, kind of the less important series. And Someone Hurts is on the second layer.
Yeah, it's in the same level
Mizuho
as
is right
Ichi.
next to Luffy.
Yeah, it's insane how much this series has taken off, and I think it's really, really fun and cool, and kind of surprising in the best way. So yeah, pretty excited for more Someone Hurts and to see where the series goes from here.
Absolutely. Spy Family was at chapter 109.
My
guess is I'm just gonna say it was the beginning of the park ranger kind of arc, the mission where Yor and the other assassins went to the forest, because I know that the fight that she had with Hemlock was this year, and I think that was kind of early on. So I'm just gonna say when they set off for the forest, that's just gonna be my guess.
I'm gonna try to Prices Right you and say it's the chapter before that where we're introduced to Hemlock and Gypsy, I think, or whatever the other assassin was.
Close enough.
Yeah.
We're both wrong. It's actually Lloyd and Melinda's counseling session.
That's a good one, though.
Lloyd and Melinda. It has a good chapter. It's great. And, she's got the wild idea that, Desmond Donovan is an alien, but, there was all the talk that we had of maybe there was some sort of thing with psychic experiments and stuff, maybe the same experiment that affected Anya, maybe a different version of that was done to Donovan Desmond, maybe, So that was a very intriguing one, and I really do look forward to seeing like more follow through with the Desmond family. I've loved to seeing like the expansion of like our approach to that. We had a lot of fun things happen with Spy Family this year. I don't think it was one of the better years, but I'm still very excited to check out the new chapter each week.
Yeah. Okay, so this is on here in an interesting way. Sid Craft, Love is a Mystery. It technically was still running at the start of this year. I mean, technically, most of, I guess its majority was this year, but it did not last that long. I don't know, something with the boat. It's chapter 7. I don't know where. They must have been going on the boat because they were on the boat for a while.
Yeah, I guess you're right. My knee-jerk reaction was like the one where they were all in the hot spring together. Like, but I think that's a little too late. But I think that's just the thing that stands out to me of like how stupid that entire development was.
Yeah.
I think that you're closer with like them getting on the boat than that. I'm gonna try and go a little earlier because I think the Scissor Man was before that.
Yes, that was before it.
So I'm just gonna say the Scissor Man chapter. Okay. I'm just going to say that.
Did we start this year off with a banger? The
infiltration of the cruise ship Elfie. Very good, Quinn.
I'm not even giving myself a point. Like, I could take it if we need to track this at the score. If there's a veto in the bank at stake, then I'll take it. But otherwise, I'm like, there were like, what, 12 chapters of this series total? Like, the boat was half of it.
What a disappointment.
Yeah, no, that's very fair to say. I feel like Sid Craft Love is a Mystery could have been really, really good, and instead it ended up being really, really frustrating. Like, it didn't seem like it was winning people over, so then the series pivoted to being a lot hornier for a period of time, which was like the absolute worst way to take it, and it just never got better. It really, really sucked by the end.
Yep. Ultimate Exodus Kyoshi. The first chapter was only 26 this year. Jeez.
Oh my gosh. It's got to be something
that the
in
Black
the Black
Parade had to be involved somehow. But I don't remember the sequence of events in the Black Parade because that was when we were both kind of like, ugh. So
yeah. It's got to be sometime in the Black Parade, and I'm gonna say, I know it would have been before that. I don't want to sit here forever, though. I'm just going to say the chapter where Kyoshi fights that girl who showed up more recently. And
Hydroko.
Yeah, Hydroko. And I don't even remember what really happened at the conclusion of that, but that's involved in the chapter somehow.
There was a nomination for Best Fight that was a whole bunch of people against one dude. And I don't remember any of their names.
Is this like Jack Joe and Neiman and something else?
Yeah, everyone against Yokurabaku.
Okay.
So I'm going to say it was when Nehan and Jack Joe revealed that they could combine together their powers.
Jesus, it was way before that.
Cool. It was during the training arc with Mr. Sagaki. So yeah, it was even before the Black Parade. That's how long the Black Parade was in terms of how it felt versus how it actually was.
Good Lord.
We thought that the Black Parade actually began this year. It's like, no, there was stuff before that.
Technically, a little bit before. But that fight against Astaroth must have been like a month and a half. All right.
God, Undead Unluck actually was actually around the beginning of this year.
Yeah, ended late January. Are we guessing on this? I mean, if it's late January, it has to be like the last action chapter, right?
Yeah, it has to be in that fight with the Soul and Luna.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's when they activate their big love heart beam or whatever it was that killed God. I don't even remember anymore.
Apparently, it was actually after the fight.
Okay.
Because Luna actually presented the awards for stopping Ragnarok, eradication of the UMAs. Clothy says goodbye. Everyone reacts to the removal of their negator abilities, and Fuko loses her memories when the heart is destroyed alongside the other artifacts. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have too much to say in terms of Undead Unluck, just because I think most of our thoughts were probably said last year. This was really the final conclusion of it, and that stuff was fine. Like it ended
was a fine
perfectly fine way.
World Trigger. First chapter this year was 249. It was definitely during the first part of the away team exam. I don't remember the developments because I've just been too busy celebrating in my mind that we're out of those fucking rooms.
Yeah.
So I don't remember where specifically we were. I believe that there was like maybe one chapter that was not named, like, you know, the
away test mission part 49.
But I'm not gonna guess. Like I can't.
I'm gonna see if Ninja will give me a half point. A lot of A rankers start responding to the answers submitted in the test. They're reacting a lot to what the test combatants are doing in the trial sims.
It was the chapter before the last special assignment, which introduced at the very end that the pantry door was stuck shut.
Okay.
Okay.
Up to Ninja to decide if I get a half point. Did any A ranker comment on what anyone else was doing in the chapter?
Look, they're out of those fucking rooms, which means that World Trigger is the best that it's been in years. Okay.
100%. We're in good times now.
We've been having character interactions. Ikoma got to be funny. There was people being thrown across cityscapes. So excited to see actual punches be thrown in World Trigger again.
All right. With that, we've covered all the series we cover in the recap. So we're going to wrap up our retrospective of 2024 by talking, or 2025 rather, by talking about our superlative awards. We're going to go through some of the bests and worsts of the year, and then say what the audience picked. And we're going to start off with a big one. This is essentially the WMR Awards, the Wormies, as we like to call them.
The Wormies.
The Wormies. Best Hero, Nick.
I did not sign off on this.
Well, I have a stamp that has your signature on it that they don't know the difference on, so... Best Hero, our options are Deskros from Ichi the Witch, Chinatsu from Blue Box, Garo from Marriage Toxin, Ichi from Ichi the Witch, Scooper Gaban from One Piece, or Scopper rather, Taiki from Blue Box, Akane from Akane-banashi, and Sosuke from Ultra Justice Kyoshi. Good for him. Not the main character from Ultra Justice Kyoshi, but
not
Sosuke.
Yeah. It was kind of a rough year for Kyoshi because
he's gotten so much better since then. He's gotten better since then, yeah.
Yes, he's been going through rehab very well. His arms are working again. It's good.
Yeah.
Deskros, easy for me.
Oh, okay.
I there were some good standouts this year. I want to give a little bit of love as well to Haitani and Embers, but for me, look, this year began with Deskros basically eating cunt, like serving cunts. That's the other way around. Sorry.
Might be the.
I don't know. I don't know your newfangled. I'm the straightest man alive, Quinn. Okay, I don't know how these terms work.
I want to just start letting you. Yeah.
Serving cunts. Don't title the episode that. Please.
Deskros eats cunt this year.
Well, a lot of people do hope so.
Yeah.
So
hey, I'm hoping for some more chapters with Togais as well. It's gonna be great.
If there's one character I can get away with, Deskros opened this chapter with posing in a throne with all of her magic surrounding her, saying she'd lost count of how many she'd acquired. And that was just her getting started. She's been so cool this year. She's been so emotionally resonant this year, the way that she has looked at Ichi and him not understanding what kind of protectiveness she has towards him. She's been funny. She's been cool. I know that there were already all the signs of it at the end of last year with her, her ego and everything like that taking a big stage, but she also got to back it up this year.
Yeah.
So
that was a big thing.
I love Deskros so much.
I'm going to agree in that Ichi the Witch probably deserves it, but I think Ichi from Ichi the Witch is going to be my character or hero of the year. I really think the Bakugami stuff really showed off how good Ichi was. And even at the start of it, doesn't that chapter where Deskros takes over, Ichi looks like he is taking out the world hater magic, and then you just realize oh, this guy's actually a little bit stronger than I thought. Not a little bit, but obviously. Like, I feel like Ichi has looked cool throughout this year, even though like other characters have gotten to like step up and show off how cool they are. Ichi is just always really effective. And he just has that great line to the Joyous Sorrow Magic where he's just like, no one will ever hug you again.
No one will ever hug you ever again.
Like, he was just so good as a lead character. He's driven the series forward constantly. I loved his big moment with Ororo in this most recent couple months where he would willingly gave over his body for a little bit. Like, Ichi's just executing so well in this series, and I think he deserves that props.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally get that. I've loved to see him interact with the different magics as well, and show that he, by being so blunt and straightforward and so weird, has been very difficult for them to worm their way out of serving him, basically.
Yeah. The audience, by the way, agreed with you. Descaros won Best Hero.
Yep. Best New Character. Choices that were nominees for this category were Beethoven from Star of Beethoven, Misery Kilthy from Craft Love is a Mystery, Haitani from Embers, Gokuraku from Ichi the Witch, the Real Famine Devil from Chainsaw Man, Skopper Gaban and Rox D. Zebek, both from One Piece, Speak a Harvest from Ichi the Witch, Natsuki from New Exorcist, Minerva from Ichi the Witch, Goro Shishido and Helzebub from Ultimate Nexus Kyoshi, and Kizashi, the Octobomb Magic from Ichi the Witch.
Good for him. Great choices here. I feel like I'm between two in my mind. Part of me wants to give it to Rox, who I think really did show off in like a really cool way. He was a much more interesting character than I think history had been like leading us up to believe. Like, it was before like, oh, he's like the most evil, wicked captain. Then you got to see like, oh damn, this is actually a pretty cool dude. But I think when it comes to best new character, it's gonna have to be like a real new one, and for that it's between Gokuraku and Shishido for me. And I think it's just recency bias is gonna have me give it to Shishido, who is just really, really cool.
If we had not had the chapter where Shishido reveals that one of his power-ups is to just have a leather jacket, then I might have given it to Gokuraku.
Honestly, yeah. I think Gokuraku is getting screwed over here by the fact that like the coolest chapter for Shishido is the most recent chapter of that manga.
No hate at all towards Gokuraku. He had an incredible introductory arc, and the payoff in it of him being a regular cast member now, where he just beats the shit out of the magics and then eats them afterwards. That is so cool. Yeah. But Shishido, I'm sorry, eating everything and then making a car out of it with his power is Kirby-ass power.
It really is. And I do think I want to speak almost to a larger sense. Shishido is helping to revive Ultimate Exorcist Kyoshi. Like, it is starting to become a series I'm excited to read now every single week. And I think Shishido is helping out a lot with that. Gokuraku is helping to enhance a series I already enjoy. But, like, Shishido is kind of saving the series that he's in, because otherwise I was like, look, I care about Sosuke and really no one else. So it's nice that there's now a group of characters I care about.
That's a great explanation for it. Yeah.
Best new power or technique. Oh, the audience, by the way, said Gokuraku is their character of the week.
And well reserved. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I spoke over you. You didn't pick yours.
No, I said I meant to say Shishido as well for me. Yeah, I would have said Gokuraku probably if not for the most recent chapter, but it's got to be Shishido for me.
Best new technique or power. Yokishiro's Lord of the Flies. Gakuro getting stronger from his growing harem in New Exorcist. Sosuke's White Dragon pressurizing his water to punch through Sada's cold aura from Ultra Exorcist Kyoshi. Yoru's power-up after nuclear weapons are reinvented by America. Karashi's false classic Rakugo. Akane using the sight for her performance. Descaras's Golconda, which I believe is the owl that forces you to confess. And the A-rank squads using Tryon soldiers to throw themselves across the map for quickly converging together in World Trigger.
Yeah. I ended up going with Golconda for this.
Okay.
there were a lot more cool powers and techniques, but I don't know. There's something about Gokhan hasn't even fucking worked.
I was
in
gonna
Ichi
say,
the Witch Queen.
I was really gonna say, I can't give it to Gokanda because it hasn't done anything. It's so cool every time, but it never works. It's like the Kurt Angle moonsault of fucking Ichi the Witch.
I think that there's just something about it that like screams, yes, this makes perfect sense that it is, Descaros's like most used spell. Yeah. She attacks a magic and is like, what's your trial? And uses a magic that makes them tell the truth so that they can't bullshit their way out of telling her what their trial is.
Yeah.
It's just like, I just love the utility of it, of like, yeah, of course she's going to do that. And I do hope that like we get to see her, if not utilize it more effectively, at least try to use it in different ways besides that, because I think that there's more to it than just like, hey, say your trial. If she ever uses it for like an interrogation or something like that, that might be interesting to see.
Yeah. I am going to go with Yokishiro's Lord of the Flies. I just really like those kinds of styles of power-ups. And this is a power-up we've already seen in the most recent chapter. Technically, I guess it'll be considered the first chapter next year, or I don't know how exactly we're going to do it, but like, we see that she is using Lord of the Flies again. It is going to be her power going forward.
Yes.
And it was a really fun, cool power that I just want to see where our author is going to take it. Like, how are we going to utilize this in fights going forward? And we're seeing flashes of it now, and it's really cool.
And a badass name besides, too.
Lord of the Flies is such a good name. The audience picked Yoru's power-up after nuclear weapons are reinvented by America and Chainsaw Man. So, great stuff there.
She did get a cool jacket out of it.
She did. She got a very cool one.
Next, we have the Cypher Academy Memorial Best Chapter title. The Noble Daughter author has another chance encounter at a certain meeting from Sid Craft Love is a Mystery, Chapter 17. Those girls from Boruto True Blue Vortex.
That's a great. I forgot those girls.
A Song of Love bound under a hail of arrows. One Piece 1161. Everyone's favorite burger from Wiki D's. Ultimate X's Kyoshi 63. Poof. Greek. Door. Chainsaw Man 214. Bonds. And Michigan. Chainsaw Man 220. Chainsaw Man 207. And Only Babble in Your Sleep. Boruto True Blue Vortex 18, which that last one is my pick. I don't know why it's titled that quick.
Only Babble in Your Sleep. It really is in that era of like, why me sad, where you're like, what is this? What are you trying to communicate?
Bleach ass title, yeah.
I'm gonna probably give mine to the one that confused me the most when it was being read to me, because again, Brett, my boyfriend was going through and submitting his picks while he was with me, so he went through some of these ones, and when he read the Noble Daughter author has another chance encounter at a certain meening, I was like, what the fuck does that even mean? There's mean? Like 3 like vague things already in that title alone.
There's like 3 different Tawarus or something like that.
Yeah, I was like, what is this? So that is also the one that won the audience pick as well. But
I totally get it.
Yeah, it is in that realm of like the Cypher Academy. Like, what is this title even trying to get across? But Only Babble in Your Sleep's really good too. I also consider Those Girls, because that is
Those Girls.
Those Girls. Oh. Right. Yeah, Best Rivalry or Relationship is next. We have Ichi and Gokuraku from Ichi the Witch, Ichi and Descaros from Ichi the Witch, Taiki and Shinatsu from Blue Box, Garo and Kinosaki from Marriage Toxin, Minerva and Chrono from Ichi the Witch, Kyoshi and Sosuke from Ultra Justice Kyoshi, Denji and Asa from Chainsaw Man, and Akane and Isho from Akane-banashi.
This is a tricky category.
Yes.
There's a lot here where, there's a fun rivalry. There were a lot of new relationships that we were introduced to. So this is legit a hard pick for me. There were also some other nominations like, Mime and Mizuo on here from Someone Hurts, which I was very tempted to go for just because, like, hey, one of the reasons that we care about the series is because they've got a fun relationship, a very sweet and cozy one. Ultimately, I ended up going with Ichi and Descaros here, just because I feel like, although, yes, there are a lot of really strong relationships in that, I don't know, there's something about the fact that Ichi doesn't fully grasp the relationship is part of the appeal to me. Like how lopsided the relationship is because of Descaris' connection to him and how he's a very humanizing element for her just really, really hits me.
Yeah, I think if we had a little bit more of it explored this year and it was like nominated, I think Akane and not Kaisei, or is that the right one I'm thinking of? There's two.
Which one are you thinking of?
The new one who revealed that he's basically like,
Kaisei.
Kaisei. That rivalry that they have connected, that they are going to be the Shiguma and the show of their generation, essentially, really is, I think, a profound and interesting rivalry / relationship. Like, who even knows like how like antagonistic is it going to be, since they both share so much in common. Like, they don't necessarily have the same kind of history that Shiguma and his show had, so like who knows where they will necessarily fall. But we didn't get to explore that much this year. However, I completely agree with you. We got to see so much of Ichi and his different relationships, and the one he has with Descaris. I mean, this is the year where Descaris made the vow where she's like, look, if you die, I die. We are family now. And it's very clear that that was like a real authentic moment from this character who we kind of lacked that authenticity from to this point. And it was really, really powerful, and it's, you know, kind of shaping the rest of the year as we end the year kind of exploring more of why family is such a significant thing to Descaris. It makes that moment from earlier in the year hit even harder.
Yeah. And the one that was voted by our listeners was Ichi and Gokuraku. And yeah, absolutely. They've got a great friendship. The conclusion of their fight against Bakugami and Gokuraku laying out why Ichi means so much to him because he reached out to him and helped him to stand when he finally ran out of strength to stand on his own.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. But I just by a little bit, I give it to Ichi and Descaris personally.
Yeah, that's very fair. All right,
let's flip the script though. Worst rivalry relationship.
This one's so funny because it's maybe even harder, if only because there were so.
Oh, this was so easy for me. I get what you mean, but
there's so many just horrendous ones this year. I think I know who I'm going with, but our nominees are Gakuro and Vice Captain Kabane from New Exorcist. This was the
as a rivalry, right?
Yeah, this is the Renji ass guy. Gakuro and Ishu from New Exorcist. Boruto and Sarada from Two Blue Vortex, Konohamaru and Moegi from Two Blue Vortex, Sora and Tsubasa from Astro Royale. I don't even know who those are. The Yotsuruki's Diamond Bond from Astro Royale.
So the whole family, basically.
The whole family. Hibaru and Kimpa from Astro Royale.
Who are family, but are also a couple.
Yeah, also a couple. And then Tanichi and Himono from Hima-ten.
Yeah.
That's surprising that one made it into the worst. I don't think that's... The people not crazy on Himono in that series?
Himeno, not Himari, Quinn.
Who's Himeno?
Remember the Himeno tax that we have to pay?
Oh, no! I mixed their names up. Oh, God. Okay, that's making more sense now. I was like, wow, why is that
everyone get on Quinn for that. Everyone forget about the eating cunt thing.
Well, they're not if you're going to remind us. Oh my gosh.
For me, you are absolutely correct. There are so many bad relationships that are laid out here. But for me, the answer is obvious, which is Konohamaru.
I was going to say, is it Konohamaru and Moegi? Because I had to ask a follow-up question in the Discord recently when I was like, hey, has she gotten, like, freed from the tree since they, like, killed her clone or whatever? And they're like, I think so. I was like, has she done anything since then?
No.
And that's so, all of her character development happened while she was in a coma.
At least, look, I almost went for Boruto and Sarada because of how garbage the romance in the series was, and then I was like, no. At least Sarada, you get to know her thoughts on things.
Yeah, I have no idea. Moegi has not commented. The entire relationship was pursued off screen by her clone, basically. And then afterwards she said no
Shikamaru
thoughts.
had to tell Konohamaru, who has known Moegi for like 30 years! By the way, this girl's in love with you!
It can't be stressed enough. I had so little respect for Konohamaru, but I can't stand him now. What a fucking loser this dude is.
There is a most improved character category. We may need to add a a most devolved character for Konohamaru.
The Konohamaru honorable least MVP.
The listeners voted for Boruto and Sarada, also a very good pick.
Yes.
Because, Jesus Christ, Naruto's always been bad at relationships, but Boruto is even worse. Best speech is the next category. First nomination is from star of Beethoven, "Are you truly so singular a man?" That speech that I really liked at the beginning of the series. Then from Embers, Bugai's pep talk to Haitani, "Go do what you always do." You know, encouraging Haitani, look, you don't need to be a smart guy who knows all the plays, just go do what you always do. Ichi the Witch, Gokuraku's speech before punching the Joyous Sorrow magic. Also from Ichi the Witch and from Gokuraku, his declaration after coming to his senses during the Joyous Sorrow magic's trial that he will not allow them to continue toying with his people. From World Trigger, Ikoma's open letter to the other squads asking for food. From Spy Family, McMahon telling Yor about his marriage and his outlook on relationships and how, assassins might fit into them. Blue Box, praise yourself more, Chinatsu comforting Taiki. And from Kaiju number 8, Kafka recalling his powerlessness as a child in that first chapter of the year.
Yeah, so my nominee isn't up there. I don't even know if it counts as a speech, but I just want to nominate Ichi telling the Joyous Sorrow magic that no one will ever hug him again. It's a line I think about pretty frequently. But using the ones that are nominated here, I think I'm going to give it to Chinatsu's Praise Yourself More speech. It was just one of those things that I was like, this is legitimately a very heartfelt sentiment that I think is like the kind of speech that just like improves someone's life a little bit. Like, no matter what happens with him and Chinatsu, like in their future, I think this is like one of those things he'll always keep with himself going forward because it's it's a very significant thing to keep to heart.
Yes, I went a different track. I went with Ikoma's letter for the other squads asking for food.
Okay,
I think that what I like most about it is how yes, it's obviously very silly and very funny, but it's very sincere. And the other squads actually listen.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine if he had done that and they treated it as a joke? It would be so much less effective as a little device.
It's the fact that everyone's like, get him some food.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we can, yeah. All right.
The audience, by the way,
Quinn, here's one of the big ones.
Well, the audience, by the way, said Gokuraku's speech before punching the Joyous Sorrow magic was the choice, which is another one. Yes, the biggest what the fuck. I can't wait. I know one of these was told to me already, and I just laughed going through it, so I'm excited for this.
All right. First, Nue planning to power up Gakuro via relationship upgrades with the girls, which actually results in a surge of power after Shiroha's love confession. From Astro Royale, one of the Yotsurugi siblings was an alien who became the Daybreak Ore through experimentation, and another sibling caused the meteor's destruction to avenge her.
That's right. They just introduced those two characters in, like, the last
right
chapter.
At the end. From Sid Craft Love is a Mystery, Souffle is revealed to be Zero Craft, ... because she was brainwashed into being so by X-Craft, who was revealed to be Sid's heretofore non-character childhood friend, Toby.
That son of a bitch, Toby. I hope he's burning in hell right now.
From New Exorcist, Gakuro and Shiroha, threatened by drowning in the infinite pee flowing from Gakuro's spirit baby, he upset pee with their sexist abilities, which somehow makes the baby comfortable, allowing it to grow and Gakuro to gain yet another sun power-up. That's from Chapter 102. From Chapter 103, Gakuro, Suo, and the spirit baby share a bath. The baby then drinks all the sexist bathwater, blows at the bathroom with a sneeze, and suddenly grows into a teenager-sized gothic Lolita. From Chapter 104,
it's like 4 straight chapters in a row.
Gakuro is kissed by his baby-turned-teenager daughter/mother spirit power manifestation Yozora, which triggers his romance-based power upgrade aura. From Chapter 105, After learning to control his baby turned teenager turned cat daughter spirit power station, Yozakura, he brings her to his room to rest, only for her to tell him to strip while she undresses herself.
Okay, yeah.
And from Ping-Pong Peril, Tyra's final opponent is an alien, and Ping-Pong Peril is used for settling interplanetary negotiations, and it was introduced to Earth to find someone like Tyra to represent humanity against alien invaders after Earth's resources.
Okay, so I'm gonna give it to this one. I'm gonna give it to Gakuro is kissed by his baby turned teenage daughter / mother spirit power manifestation user, which triggers his romance-based power upgrade aura, but if only because the way I saw it described in the Discord added the like phrase, by the way, she was still his baby until earlier that morning, and that made me laugh so hard.
I think that the reason that this is also my selection for biggest WTF moment is the fact that we had only just been introduced to the idea of him getting power-ups from girls being in love with him like a couple months before. And the ones that we saw were like Shiroha's confession to him, you know, like all the girls like together sitting with him on the bus and he gets horny.
Yeah.
Like, and then it's like, oh, this girl who has been introduced as a teenage form the chapter before, like minutes prior, she kisses him and he gets a power up from it. He pops a power boner. What the fuck is this? This is what New Exorcist, by the way, should be 100% of the time.
This is why it annoys me when we get a normal chapter, because I'm like, this is what you do that makes a mark on me. I'm never going to remember this fucking most recent chapter that happened, but I'm never forgetting the chapter where the baby filled up the room with pee and you guys were all going to drown in it. And the fact that it was like a string. Like, the Bulls in the 90s didn't have the run that New Exorcist had in its early 100s.
Oh my god! Have you ever seen like those like watch commercials for whenever a team won a championship? I think that they used to be a lot more common. You're just like, oh, now you can celebrate New Exorcist with 4 straight chapters being nominated for WTF Moment of the Year.
Oh my god! All right.
Oh, and the piss room chapter 1 for the audience. I understand, yeah.
The piss room.
That's another thing that adds to the content text for our selection. This was a baby who peed on you 2 chapters ago.
Who almost killed you with that said pee?
And you got a power up from her kissing you. What the fuck is your problem?
You probably still reeked of piss at that point. Joke's on you, that's what I'm into. Wet sports. Alright, best 2-page spread. So we're just going to name these.
Oh, a sincere one.
But the audience, we're not going to be able to obviously show you these images. But if you do want to check these out, all these and everything else can be found on the WMR Google Doc, which you can find in our Discord, or if you... I believe there might be a link to it in the descriptions for these episodes. But we have Deskros summoning Iskandar, which makes more sense now that we know how she got Iskandar by now. The Lord of the Flies reveal from Dandadan. The Clockwork Logician. Is that a word? Logician. What a great word.
The Clockwork Logician.
Shomei Subakia. That's a great one. Kinosaki and Gero's marriage cosplay from Marriage Toxin. The Monkey See, Monkey Do false finish or false classic from Akane-banashi. The Kaiju versus the Lizard Building from Dandadan. An environment of peace and tranquility, basically Kane cradling the venue as she's using the site. And then I Will Be the Greatest, what Deskra says is she's destroying the zombies as part of the reverse magic's trial.
And that one is the audience pick. Deskra is slashing through all the zombies. Mine is going to be much more low-key. I really, really like the candid photo of Kinosaki and Gero when they're wedding. It's so sweet and cute. And it was in context, it's even better to know like how awkward Gero was the whole time. And then when he sees, the end game person in front of him is when he's happiest, and it's a very sweet photo of the two of them.
Yeah, I legitimately think it's a great photo or great shot, and it's understated, but it's beautiful. And it also hits very hard knowing that we're going to be in for some pain regarding Kinosaki sooner than later. So,
and the reason that he did that was because he knew that his time with Garo was probably coming to an end.
Yeah. Really, really good stuff. I also considered Shomei's one, but that's just because I'm a helpless simp. So,
Best Twist is the next category. Nominees are the new transfer student was the real Famine Devil, and her imposter was the Death Devil. That's from Chainsaw Man. From One Piece, Rox D. Zebek is Blackbeard's father. Another one from Chainsaw Man. Despite them having been previously eaten by Chainsaw Man, the nuclear weapons are independently redeveloped by America. From Marriage Toxin, Nasu's ultimate goal is to have Garo marry all his dating candidates. Another one from One Piece, Rox is from God Valley and didn't go to save Shaki, but to save the wife and son he sent there for protection. From Ichi the Witch, the Time Magic, or the Chrono Weaver Magic, has a human wife pregnant with his child. From Ping-Pong Peril, Tyra's final opponent is an alien, as gone over before. Akane-banashi, Isho intentionally ruined Kaise's successful promotion exam by committing the taboo of doubling up and inviting comparison, which led to an unfavorable re-vote.
yeah, I want to give it to Rox being Blackbeard's father because I think that is like a really interesting twist. It just wasn't treated like a twist in the story. It was just like a little dialogue box that was like, Rox, Blackbeard's father. And it was like, what?
By the way, yeah.
So I think going with the ones that actually create that environment of a twist, I think I'm going to give it to a show ruining Kaise's promotion because that was a moment of like, oh, whoa, what the fuck? You're not a senior. Like, I could have sworn you would have been. And it really does add a lot to that dynamic and that relationship when you see like, oh no, this dude's like a sick little freak and he just wants to kind of fuck with all of his students to make them the best that they can be. It's wild stuff.
And my pick is going to be Nasu's plan for Garo, which I think really mostly works because of the type of series that you're kind of expecting Marriage Toxin to be, and then being told, no, the villain's plot is the harem ending. I think that context is what gets it for me, is the best twist.
All right. The audience picked that the new transfer student was the real Famine Devil and the imposter was the Death Devil from Chainsaw Man as their twist of the year. So, makes a lot of sense. Best fight, Nick. We have Descaros versus the World Hater Magic from Ichi the Witch. Ime versus Saisho's basketball game from Blue Box. Sosuke versus Kurose, the ice guy from Ultimate Exorcist Kyoshi. Yor versus Hemlock from Spy Family. Gokuraku versus and Ichi versus the Joyous Sorrow Magic from Ichi the Witch. Roger and Garp versus Rox from One Piece. Chainsaw Man versus Yor from Chainsaw Man. And Shishido versus Helzalulu from Ultimate Exorcist Kyoshi.
This, I think, was actually the hardest category for me to pick. None of them really stood out a whole ton for me. I ended up going with Gokuraku and Ichi versus the Joyous Sorrow Magic. I think just because the build and the catharsis of the final blow has the biggest impact among all these for me. There are some very fun ones here. I really do like the Yor versus Hemlock fight. And as well as, we talked about how much fun the Shishido and Lulu fight was, the Sosuke versus Kurose fight was, but in terms of having like everything and having a real like emotional element to it as well, it's got to be the one against the Joyous Sorrow Magic.
I think I'm going to agree with you. I want to say like Sosuke or Shishido's fights on Kyoshi because I think those align very closely with how I used to really enjoy fights very specifically. It's just like, hey, two cool people firing their, fights, their shots against each other, and then it has a satisfying conclusion. But I do think just everything that went into the Joyous Sorrow Magic fight, even though it wasn't like a big muscle thing for them to punch, it was a lot more about like surviving essentially and stuff like that. It was extremely satisfying to see the Joyous Sorrow Magic go down. And again, just to reference it, the no one will ever hug you again moment, it's just, it's so good.
Next we have Most Improved Character. Nominees are from Chainsaw Man, Fami, a.k.a. the Death Devil, so Lil D. From World Trigger, Oki and Katori. From Ichi the Witch, Jiki Shirane, a.k.a. the Prophecy Magic. From One Piece, Dragon. From Dandadan, Yukishiro. From Spy Family, Donna Schlag. And from Akane-banashi, Kaise.
Ooh, this is tough. I think it's between Jika Shirone and Kaisei for me. Just because I think those are the two that actually have had the most. Katori, I guess, maybe could also be in there. But I have trouble remembering what actually happened when in World Trigger anymore, and I feel like a lot of her character development has happened over the course of like 3 years of this like inside match.
Agreed, yeah.
So I think between them, I'm really gonna say Kaisei. I really liked what they did with Kaisei recently. I thought that chapter really like gave him the recontextualization that I was like, oh, if Akane-banashi ends with like whatever performance she does versus Kaisei, like I would be happy. Like it's got like a real end game quality to it that I like.
I'm gonna side with the audience's pick of Jiki Shirane here.
Yeah.
I think that like actually seeing like her character development happen was definitely a big thing. But I have to say as well, I like that one of the nominees that we didn't actually have like I guess enough support for it to even really be considered a finalist was Ada from Boruto, who didn't really improve. She just kind of stayed the same while everyone else got worse.
I was gonna say the world around her got significantly worse, so she looks amazing in comparison.
Yeah.
What a comeback story. All right, Nick, this is your category.
Yeah. The Bleach Memorial Best Severed Limb Award. Best example of an arm getting ripped off, cut off, blown off, you know, the whole deal. So nominees are from New Exorcist, Gakuro cutting off 4 of Suzurine Kobe's hands after luring them into being next to each other. From One Piece, Brogy's arm being blown off by an emu-possessed Gunko. From Ichi the Witch, Gokuraku's arm exploding from the force of punching the Joyous Sorrow Magic in the face. From New Exorcist again, Gakuro's arm being cut off by Suzaku, which is then immediately reattached by Ishi's threads within the same page. And 2 examples from Marriage Toxin, Nasu cutting off his own arm in order to stop himself from strangling Garo to death and disappointment. And Free Love's arms being bitten off by Toneko's wolf before being devoured by it. And lastly, from Dandadan, Mr. Driss's arm being cut off by Ukarun with his big throbbing stick, and then Mr. Driss immediately reconnects it with a bandage.
This one was an easy one for me. It's in the spirit of the awards. Gakuro's arm being cut off and then immediately reattached within the same page is right in that level of like, why did you even bother cutting it off?
I mean, I totally agree with the breakdown of our audience's vote here. The sincere pick is Gokuraku's arm exploding because he punches so hard, but the spirit of the award has got to be Gakuro's arm being cut off and then immediately reattached. Because, like, look, in certain contexts, you like expect like, oh, sure, like an arm could get taken off or whatever. Like Mr. Driss's arm being cut off, he's a weird mummy guy. You know, that's fine that happens. Gakuro is supposed to be a human. There is no impact to his arm being severed in the middle of a fight because it's immediately undone in the same fucking page. Like 2 panels later, she restitches his arm on. It's stupid.
Yeah. The audience, by the way, picked Gakuro's arm being cut off as and then reattached as the insincere one. And I can't remember if we mentioned that Gokuraku and Ichi versus the Joyous Sorrow Magic won best fight as well.
And the audience pick.
Yes. Yeah, for the audience pick. Coolest moment, Nick.
Yes, our nominees are from Ichi the Witch, Descarus instantly defeating the World Hater Magic spell that they used against Ichi, mocking him for doing so and for losing to Ichi, and then nearly forcing out his trial and replying with, "Dunno, lost count," when asked how many magics she had captured, throwing back his own previous taunt at him. A couple more from Ichi the Witch. Descarus summoning the rope magic Yatakami to restrain the Bakugami Tapir, while Ichi and Gokuraku take the Joyous Sorrow Magic's trial. Gokuraku's declaration after coming to his senses during the Joyous Sorrow Magic's trial that he will not allow them to continue toying with his people. From Embers, Nerumi going after Takami's failed goal shot that had bounced into the air off the post, thinking he was back to usual, only for Haitani to come flying in and headed in for the game-winning goal, which I believe was also his first ever goal that they established. From Chainsaw Man, Yoru turning her tank arm into a machine gun and using it to rapid-fire every weapon that she and Asa have made throughout the series at the Falling Devil. From One Piece, Baby Loki crawling up the side of the great tree Adam after having been thrown into the underworld at birth. Also from One Piece, Rocks, Roger, Garp, Whitebeard, Big Mom, and Kaido simultaneously attacking the emu-possessed Saturn, and Roger and Garp using their most powerful attacks to defeat a Domi Reverse-Side Rocks.
There's a lot of good ones in here. I think, though, the one that immediately comes to mind is the Descaras moment where she, replies with "don't know how lost count," and she is flexing, and there's crystals floating all around her, just showing
she's
off.
In a throne.
Yeah, how many of these things she's taken out.
That's got to be it for me as well.
Yeah.
And especially since then we have learned of magic circles more and know that she must interact with all the magics that she has captured. Yeah. So
she has to walk into her own mind at some point. There's 50 spirits that are just
how many of there are you? I don't care.
Best villain.
That's a sweep.
Yeah,
that's a sweep because the audience picked it as well.
Yes, best villain. Then the audience, our nominees are Fami, aka the Death Devil, aka Little D from Chainsaw Man, Bakugami, the Joyous Sorrow Magic from Ichi the Witch, Saint Summers from One Piece, Emu from One Piece, Sensei, aka Nasu, the doll user from Marriage Toxin, Yoru from Chainsaw Man, Misery Kilty from Sid Craft Love is a Mystery. She wasn't a villain. And a show from Akane-banashi. There's other real villains than... How did she get enough votes?
And not Toby. My pick has got to be Nasu from Marriage Toxin in terms of the impact that a villain had on the series, the way that they have changed the game, how creepy they are, but also memorably weird. That's got to be it for me.
At the start of the year, I thought it was going to be Saint Summers because he was designed to just say and do the shittiest, most evil things. And then we got further into the flashback and it showed he was just as shitty and evil back then as well. And I was really yeah, this guy's a real shitheel. I don't think anybody's really kind of getting further than that. But then we've started to get more and more showing that Emu is really kind of the face behind all of this. And we're seeing more and more of this character who's always kind of existed in shadows and teases for a while. And I was yeah, maybe this is the year of Emu. And then the last month of Akane-banashi has happened, and I was it's a show. He's just been so good as a foil to both Akane and to even Kaisei. It truly just what you want out of an antagonist, where you're I just need to get you in a room and talk to you to try to figure out how your brain works. Why are you like this? And we know kind of why, but he's just so good at being an antagonist for our characters, and particularly Akane. It's great. Just how Akane falls apart anytime she's in the room with him for more than 5 minutes. There's always a moment where she has to pause and recompose herself afterwards because she just gets so angry at how much she hates him. Yeah.
And Isho is a fantastic villain. I love Isho so much. So definitely, I get you that.
Yeah. The audience agreed on this show from Akane-banashi, by the way. Strangely, despite the fact she was nominated, not Misery Kilty, though.
All right. And then the last supplemental award, the Fuck Gakuro Award. As in, fuck Gakuro. Man, just this is our worst Gakuro moment of the year. Nominees are getting a power-up from being confessed to, getting a power-up from being kissed on the lips by Yozora, who was a baby until earlier that same day.
That was the one I saw that I was fuck, that's so funny when you phrase it like that.
Gakuro asking Captain Girl, I love that her name's not actually set down, to protect the others if his powers got out of control, only for her to tell him to just do so himself by actually controlling his power, because that's both his job and the point of their current training. Being roped into yet another marriage to another new girl after declaring that he'll take care of Ishu to Suzaku. By the way, that's in the same chapter that happens.
Same chapter.
He promises to Suzaku that he'll take care of Ishu, and then in the same chapter, he's told that he needs to marry Natsuki as we're introduced to her. And speaking of Natsuki, the last nomination is Natsuki falling in love with Gakuro. Not for anything he actually did, but for resembling a manga character she likes. I'll let you go first, since this is also my category.
Yeah, I'm going to say again, because it is very funny to me, The baby Gakuro, like he was taking care of till the other day, is very funny. But I think the one that actually is going to be my pick is the getting roped into a new marriage after declaring that he'll take care of Ichi to Suzaku. Because again, it was the same chapter. It's such a fuck you move that he was like, "Don't you worry, I'll make sure she's safe." And then later that afternoon, he's like, "I have to get married again. Whoa, I guess I will." Like he doesn't fight it that hard. He doesn't bring up fucking issue at all or anything like that.
This year was in a couple of ways a challenge. So the reason I actually knew where the series began was because I did my research. This is my award. I got to make sure it's properly researched, and I actually sped through New Exorcist this year. And I gotta say, there are actually not that many egregious bad Gakuro moments from this year. The only real example that I had that was not nominated was when he and Ishu, before the battle with Suzaku, they kind of infiltrate her compound, and there's that weird thing where they demand that he bathe with them because they bathe together as a family, and Gakuro tries to gather his courage and goes, "Let me wash your back too!" And then the girls turn around and he can see their boobies, so he faints. So that's the one thing I'll give a bit of attention to. But I have to double down on getting the power from being kissed on the lips by Yozora, because again, like the power-ups we've seen him get before are like, all the girls saying that they love him, being on the bus together with all the girls together and stuff like that. And it's this girl was your daughter 10 minutes ago and you're getting a love power-up from her. What the hell is wrong with you, Gakuro? You fucking suck. I have to also point out that this is not long after they go on all the festival dates, and he doesn't have a power-up from any of those. So he goes in a haunted mansion where he's got Shiroha and Suo hanging off of his arms and like being really handsy with him, and he doesn't get a power-up from that.
Well, the other one, he had so much ammonia in his system at that point from all the urine. So, it's understandable he wasn't thinking right. All right, Nick.
To bring it home, Quinn, we've been talking for nearly 3 hours, so let's finish this.
Yes, we're wrapping this up. This is our favorite series of 2025. What one was the best? And I do think this one is obvious for me.
Was it not Ichi the Witch for you?
It's Ichi the Witch. It's
Ichi the Witch.
It's the only series that has been that standout good consistently the entire year. Like, every moment you bring up, I can pinpoint it. I can be like, oh yeah, the World Hater magic. All right, all the Bakugami stuff. All right, the stuff with Spica and the introduction of Ichi, and then all the stuff on the boat. All that stuff is memorable. It's great. Ichi wants to pick up a big axe he saw somewhere. There's just so many cool details that this series has done at this point. Everything's been memorable. Everything's been executed well. Every element it's tried to introduce has worked. It's just firing on all cylinders.
And a very, very crucial element that kind of, I think, has not gotten a lot of attention. We started to talk about it with the relationships in Ichi. The fact that we have the groundwork laid for all of those characters and what they mean to each other makes all those moments where big things are happening work so much more. So the fact that we've gotten to know Jiki Shirane and, gotten to know her initially, to see the impact that stuff has on her because she's starting to change her mind on how magics can coexist with humanity. The fact that, we've gotten to see Ichi and Komugi grow to be really good friends, and Ichi doesn't see Komugi the way that everyone else does. He just sees her as his very smart friend that he relies on a lot. The very fast friendship that he's formed with Goguraku, the brother-sister relationship that he's developed with Descartes that he still doesn't understand, the fact that we've gotten to know Chrono and Minerva and really give a shit about what's going to happen to her, even though we only met them very recently. The character work in Ichi the Witch is so good, and it makes all the funny moments way funnier. It makes all the emotional moments more emotional. It makes all the badass moments more badass.
Yeah, absolutely. Ichi the Witch, standout series this year. Other series very good, but I think Ichi the Witch is the one that stood kind of head and shoulders above everyone else.
Yeah, I still love Akane-banashi a whole lot. I still really enjoy Spy Family, and I
One
liked.
Piece, Dandadan, Chainsaw Man, I think all
Yeah,
had pretty good
Dandadan had an
years.
exceptional. Dandadan had an exceptional year.
Yeah.
I must say for me, but it's got to be Ichi. So,
All right.
and that's it.
Yeah, we are done, guys. That is going to be us saying goodbye to 2025 when it comes to manga. Of course, want to give a special thanks to all of you who have been listening to this. This has been, an awesome experience getting to do manga this year. It's been a big year, I think, for a lot of us. And I always just want to thank and appreciate all of you who still listen, who still want to come in here and still want to talk manga. Thank you so much for not leaving us for the hotter, younger Gen Z versions of us that must exist out there somewhere.
Yeah, Quick and Nin are out there with.
Yo, Quick and Nin is such a better group of names. Are you kidding me? Can we change ourselves now? I'll even be Nin.
I am not going to be Quick. That's not cool.
You don't want to be... Okay, I'll be Quick.
No!
But yeah, thank you,
guys.
everybody.
Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll have more weekly manga recap next year, so stay tuned. Check us out on twitch.tv/RoloT for the live episodes. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Podbean, weeklymangarecap.podbean.com. If you want bonus episodes, we're on Patreon, patreon.com/weeklymangarecap. Thank you, everyone who makes the show what it is on our Discord server, as well as the guys who help out with making the show what it is. Ninja X3i, who we would not be able to as easily do all the bonus polls and all that stuff without his coordination.
Everything with the audience and putting together like the award lists at the end of the year, that is all Ninja and members of our community who just put in those options throughout the year, and then he helps narrow it down. So yeah, incredible, valuable stuff.
And on the video end side of things, Steve Mann for making the occasional tile cards, Milo Jack Stillitz and Wednesday Joe Cheddar for making the opening sequence. Thank you guys all so much, and we here's to another great year, hopefully.
Yes, here's to 2026, the year where One Piece only has 5 years left until the ending.
Again. Good night, everybody. Happy New Year.